Well, well, well. Quite the development from my original plans. Um, One person had to cancel because they had some ice storms. Uh, Pray for them in Texas. Uh, Something I wasn't keeping track of, but apparently Texas got some major ice storms. He hadn't had power in like 2 days. Needs to go out and cut some firewood from what he was saying so he can stay warm. Um, you'd have thought Texas would have learned from just what was it, 2 years ago, 3 years ago. Apparently they don't learn. Hey Diana, hey Hope, hey JJ. Um, had another one that I had planned on having on tonight. Um, Friend of mine out of Canada. She is having some issues tonight on they got some event that she was gonna be there. It didn't go as smoothly as they thought, so she's helping out with the catastrophes apparently. And we're currently waiting on Polish Agnes to come on. I'm a little bit late myself, but it is quite the amazing world we are living in today. Hey,
Oh, are we live already? Yeah, we're live.
yeah, we're live. Well, I'm alive. I only check my pulse here. Yeah, I'm alive. Hey,
I
Marcy. Uh, I was just telling them that I was trying to get some other people on, but I haven't told them who because I'm not going to. You know who it was,
right. Yeah.
but I'm
Okay.
not
Cool.
going to tell. It's supposed to be a surprise.
Yeah. Let's keep
I've
it.
been
Let's keep
trying to
it as a surprise.
organize getting him on for quite a while now, and it just never seems to work out.
Yeah.
Busy lives, busy lives. I think after the convoy stuff, people kind of still trying to get back into the rhythm of what they've been doing, and it's just not working out for them.
I don't know. I was a little surprised that that's what you want to talk about, but that's fine. Obviously we both were a part of it. Um, I kind of put that episode or part of my life, kind of already to the rest. I would like to remember this as a good experience. I would like to remember the fact that we have an amazing community, the fact that we had an amazing people that have joined, and we had people that had good reasons why they wanted to really do all this for. And I don't really appreciate people like talking shit about it, to be quite honest with you. I like to always see the
Well,
positive.
main thing I wanted to bring to everybody's memory is because just like a year ago that we started seeing the Canadian convoy. And I think for all intents and purposes, the Canadian convoy is the convoy we can probably be the most proud of, in my opinion. Because they started in reality, they started pretty much the worldwide movement of protests. It wasn't just in the US, it wasn't just in Canada, it was in almost every country that we were able to see it anyway, where people were encouraged to protest their government. And I think our hats are off to Canada for that because the nicest people on the planet, the country has the nicest people on the planet for the most part, um, were the angriest.
Yeah, yeah. Um, well, so Canada really had and still has, because most of the people really that I talked to, they're all vaccinated. They had like super, 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 super heavy mandates. And with everything
Yeah.
that it's coming out, all the truth that's coming out, I will be doing myself. I will be doing more of these um, podcasts that talk about side effects and stuff like that. So more and more and more and more and more and more stuff is really coming out, and it's really coming to light what is going on with people after getting what. And so I just appreciate the fact that someone in the whole entire world has stood up to this shit. Because the minute I found out about the job, I was just like, nope. Mm-mm. I went online. I did just a little tiny bit of the research, and I was like, no, absolutely not. You're not going to do this to me. So I always say that I have been ready for any kind of a protest, convoy, or whatever you want to call it, exactly a year before when we started ours. That should honestly happen a year earlier, if people were not really scared enough. I mean, for God's sakes, like we did it 2 years after really, the pandemic hit. And I'm just like, that's way too long. Why did we let it happen for so long?
I think everybody, was waiting for the next person to start it. Like for one, for me personally, I have, or I mean, I have a little bit more of an idea now, but then I had no idea what it takes to get something like this organized. I have no idea how it works. I know how to get involved with it, but I don't know how to be the one to get out the, hey, we're going to do this, so follow me. I don't have that kind of voice. I don't have the following of people to get a hold of to start something. So I think for most of us, that was where we were at. We're like, we don't have the way. We don't even have like. To me, I have about, I don't know, two friends in the trucking industry. So I'm not. I'm not. I don't have resources, so to speak, to be able to even start anything like that. And if you're going to do a trucker protest, you got to have contacts in the trucking industry.
I wasn't a year ago or a little bit over a year ago, let's say the beginning of 2021. I wasn't really thinking about truckers, to be quite honest. I just really needed something to happen because I was just the same aware as I am now. And it's not like all of a sudden I found out more information that I knew, about the V a year prior to that. So that just they just hidden all those informations from us. And if you have any kind of a gut feeling, really honestly, and you ever listen, or intuition, which women, it's got an awesome intuition usually, um then you would know what's really coming. And like I said, to
Yeah.
me, somewhere in the world a year ago we needed to start this. Not, I mean, like 2 years ago. I'm sorry. I keep forgetting it's been a year since the convoy. I can't even believe it's been a year. Like, where did the year, like, really honestly, where did it disappear? It disappeared on me. But yeah, 2 years ago, that's what we really needed to start because we already all knew it was just a shit show. And it took Canada to do it because they just needed to move in the direction that they were not all squished into heaven, those mandates like that.
Well,
So I think
and they got
there's
it
an,
worse than we do as far as they got it worse than we do as far as the control. Um,
yeah, yeah, they
I
do.
wish I
They
could have
really
had my
do.
friend on. She was telling me how Canada's government, the power does not sit within the province, which would be like our state. The power is literally all in Ottawa, and they're like the Canadian Royal Mounted Police. They are um, like our FBI, but
Hmm.
the RCMP is like patrolling the streets. So it's like a, I don't know, state militia kind of deal. Hey, you're
Yeah,
froze up.
I did.
Yeah, you were sipping your coffee for like about 30 seconds.
You know what? I don't. Sometimes This is why I usually, when I do these, I just hook up my router to my computer. So that's what I'm gonna do now.
Oh,
Because,
direct hookup.
well, I gotta go to Elaine later, so like all my stuff I have already kind of, um,
Oh, you doing the auction over there?
yes.
Okay, just so
I
you
think
guys
I
know,
may
she's
do.
having an auction.
Yeah,
What
well, once
time?
a month. Once a month we're doing it. We didn't do it in January because we thought everyone is gonna just be basically done after the holidays and whatnot, and no one's gonna probably want to spend more money. But now we're already in February and we're approaching Valentine's Day, so perfect
Yeah. Did,
opportunity.
what time? 9 o'clock?
I was trying to start around 8:30, but whenever we're gonna start,
Okay.
I gotta wait until like all the people like stop streaming, so I can kind of pull some people
Uh, I,
towards.
I literally, I literally got tired of doing that because after the convoy, I was asked if I'm going to do lives, after. And I said, yeah, I'm going to try to do them around like 6 p.m. whenever I
Mm-hmm.
can. And then every other streamer that was in the convoy picked up on that and started doing it at 6 p.m. And then I was like, okay, well, maybe I'll move it to where I'm not like running over theirs because let's face it, the people that watch you probably watch me, or the people that watch me watch you, and the people that
Oh yeah,
watch Mags watch me, I only get a few of them from all of them, but they're all intertwined. And
yeah.
finally, everybody started streaming around the same time I was. Every now and then I'd have somebody popping in and yell at me for streaming the same time this guy was. Dude, I was the first one that said 6 o'clock. So I was like, you know what?
What?
Finally, I say,
Oh
you
my
know what? Screw it. I'm doing it at 6 o'clock if I can. I don't give a damn about the rest of it. I'm not gonna work around everybody else's schedule because I
yeah, yeah.
started it. So
No, I don't usually worry about those
competition, damn it.
things. Yeah, I don't usually worry about those things, but an auction, I would say, is one of the most important streams that I actually do. So I want to
Yeah,
kind of make sure that everyone has the chance to get there, and participate, and not like 10 other people are streaming and someone is interested in, really something else. Because I know a lot of people do watch the video, and a lot of people watch some other people having drama, and stuff like that. So I just like, just let me wait until they're all done, and then let me do my auction. But normally when I always do
well,
Friday nights because it's the most easiest for me, because however long I will stay on that stream. So last time we did it, we ran the stream for like 9 hours. I ended up going to sleep like, I don't know, I think 3 in the morning or something. So imagine trying to do that, yeah, during the week. It's like just not possible. So yeah, and the auctions run forever too. It's like at least 5 hours or something. So dude, I
yeah.
cannot
Last time
ever
I
get
was
off
on,
with an hour stream.
the last time I went broke on one of your auctions, I had, I think I ended up going to bed like 11:30 midnight, something like that.
Yeah, I know. I know. Well, I mean, it is what it
Um,
is. But the convoy, that's what you want to talk about, because we're having. When was the convoy really started? The end of February, didn't it? Because it was supposed to supposedly
uh,
shut down the Super Bowl. That is what, this weekend, I think, isn't it?
yeah. Well, the U.S. convoy started, I think, middle of February, 23rd or something like that. But the Canadian convoy, they rolled into Ottawa, I think, on the 28th, 29th of January, something like that.
January. Yeah.
Um, but you were talking about the clot shot, and I wanted to bring. Did you see the whole debacle with Pfizer?
Yeah, of course.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What did you think of it?
You know what? Honestly, I was just kind of waiting when everything is gonna really crumble for them. because they have been pushing and pushing and pushing, and so many people have gotten it, and now they're exposing all this freaking crazy stuff with, with really the Pfizer that supposedly was the most safe one, right? So they pulled the Johnson and Johnson pretty quick out, and then Moderna and Pfizer. Yeah, oh yeah, they're so great and they're so much better and whatnot. I actually have read an article um, on they just admitted that it's messing with women's reproductive system. I don't know if you knew
Yeah,
that or not.
I caught that too. Tim Pool was
Yeah,
talking about that. I believe it was.
yeah.
What I I can't help but laugh. It's not a laughing matter, but all you can do is laugh because when that director got caught talking about what Pfizer was doing, and then he starts going, "No, no, I was just trying to impress a date, and that's why I was lying about what Pfizer's doing." And then Pfizer comes out and goes, "No, no, no, we're not actually doing gain of function, but what we're doing is engineering the blah blah blah, whatever it was." Like it was literally like the way I used was Ted Bundy. We know most of us know who Ted Bundy was. I wasn't
Hmm.
alive back then, but we can all read the stories. But it'd be like Ted Bundy going, "No, no, 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 I didn't murder anybody. What I did was I repeatedly beat them and I repeatedly, wrapped my fingers around their throat until they became lifeless." That was
Hmm.
basically the freaking Pfizer response to what they weren't. Like they just described the act of what we were claiming they were doing. Like it was it's the stupidest thing ever.
I mean, it has to come out, and it has to, because actually, and sometimes I'm listening to the radio and I'm driving and whatnot. All these like commercials about, well, if you were taking, what was that? Some freaking hairspray, I think they said, and whatnot for women, and you develop a cancer from this. You need to talk to these people. If you were taking Tylenol and you were pregnant, you might be linking entitled to the compensation. Contact these people. If you were taking this and you were doing that and that medication, this medication, you get that freaking shot and you're going to have to live to the rest of your life with the fact that you have it in your system and you never know what can really happen to you. And the funniest part, I read about one person from like the TV. I don't know if it was a speaker or whatever. I would have to go back. I'm really bad with names. There's no way I can bring up the name. So they literally developed a myocarditis and something else. They said it was, and they are absolutely publicly announced they are not linking this into the vaccine and vaccinated and all the boosters and whatnot, ended up in a hospital. I think it was aneurysm and myocarditis. I'm like, how do you not link these things, and how do you live with a shot to the rest of your life thinking that you can die? You can literally die. Like, people, I don't think people understand the really the majority of the side effects that are going to possibly put you in grave. So I mean, hey, they want to kind of do it, that's on them, but this is what we really did this convoy for, right? I mean, except the leadership that ended up being what it what we didn't like, but I think there's a lot of people who have joined because we didn't want it to be forced to take that shot. I mean, you want to go and do it and you want to live the rest of your life with the shit in your blood? Oh, go ahead. I actually spoke about
Yeah, that's
getting like unvaccinated blood on my panel. I was like, you better know what your like blood type is, and like any of your relatives or people who have the same type of blood as an unvaccinated, because in case something happens to you, hey, if you're not going to tell them that you want unvaccinated blood, you're going to have this shit in your body too. accidentally, let's say. So
That's what's great about this country, or used to be, is you can be a responsible adult, make decisions yourself, not have big daddy government sitting there telling you what you have to take and what you can't take based on what they think they want you to do. And you're not supposed to be publicly persecuted for whatever decision you make.
yeah,
Actually, Diana said, "Did you see the one where the newswoman said she has pericarditis and myocarditis from a cold she got?" Yeah, I remember that being in the news too,
yeah.
claiming she had a cold for like a month and a half. So, are you telling me the very media that was saying we got to get tested and we got to be put in quarantine if we got sick, that same media was sick for a month and a half and never quarantined?
Yeah, exactly. I don't know. I'm just hoping that, well, it's pretty bad out there anyways, because I tried looking for a job like remotely, and I wrote my freaking awesome resume and all that stuff, and I sent it to some people, and they all asked for the shot. I was like, that's not what
Really?
I'm doing. So, with that being said, I'm like, wow, the world is really messed up. So far, it's going to be really hard to find a company that doesn't really um, require the shot. But maybe I was just hitting the wrong companies. Maybe I just got to do a little better and better research.
Probably depends on how big of a company you're going to.
Yeah, I don't know, but that's
I
just
mean,
me.
this is the way I look at it. If a company is going to tell me that I have to have that shot, they are basically, because generally, if you work for a company, you wear their uniform, or you are representing them, and you are representing them for the amount of time they are paying you. So if you're getting paid for 8 hours, you are wearing their uniform for 8 hours.
Yeah.
Shouldn't be any different with the shot. If they want me to get the shot, I'm representing their company having to get the shot to represent them. I should be paid 24 hours a day, 7 days a week for the rest of my damn life because I got that for them. Public Square.
Hmm.
Yes, I recently downloaded that. Tim Pool had the guy on a while back. That's good, but I thought Public Square was more of a an app where for like small companies that are like coffee shops, restaurants, stuff like that.
Yeah. I need another convoy or something. Let's do something.
I'm down for it. When are we
But
going?
let's not
And where are
raise
we
the
going?
money, and whoever just wants to be there, like let's just bring people in. Let's not run it for
I,
freaking
I
6 months.
I say we don't raise any money and everybody pays for their own damn gas.
Well, it doesn't even have to be the gas unless you want to get there. Um that's one thing. But what I would count on is probably American people to just feed us, so send food. And the
It might
rest.
honestly be too soon. It might honestly be too soon because people. I think that's one of the reasons why 1776 RM never really grew in big numbers was because people were just so sick and tired of the convoy because of how the convoy ended. They weren't. Nobody's going to join something like that in the near
um
future because they're
I
just
just I
pissed.
don't think the 1776 was kind of handled the right way, for people to be able to join. Actually, that's what I think. Um, it's definitely going to take people who are just not ever tied to this whole convoy and the rest of the movements. if they wanted to really organize something and have people, going. What I think we should do is we should gather all the states, and really do go to our capitals. You're a trucker or you're
State
not,
capitals.
whichever town you are, just freaking go. It don't matter if it's going to be your own town or anything else. I think we should have speakers and whatnot, and we should try to do it as big as possible, and not and just put the convoy to the rest and put 1776 to the rest, and have a clear message, like, what this is going to be about, really, honestly. But I mean, now it's the winter. I was a little surprised that I'm having a rally on the 18th here in Connecticut. There's one in Missouri, there's one in Florida, at the state capitol, and I was like, wow, in the middle of the winter. I mean, we can try if it's not snowing or like blizzard going through or whatever, Um,
Well, I mean, when Canada had their convoy, it was freaking like 10 degrees outside and
yeah,
snowing. They
I know.
didn't care.
It was,
They were
I
pissed.
know, it was really bad for them. But definitely there's a lot
I
of
hope I
people that's
hope
going to get
to
discouraged.
I hope this summer, no later than this summer, we can get something else going. I mean, it doesn't necessarily have to be a massive convoy to park in DC or park in your city in the state capital. Just show up, have a rally, maybe close to the capital or something like that. Um, because it does
Well,
make a difference if they
it's
see
got to
you're
be
out
on the
there and you're
public
pissed.
grounds. It's got to be on the public grounds, and it's just like it's all about the advertising, really, honestly, all these things. I've noticed it's just not ever, people are afraid to say what they're going to be doing exactly. I mean, every time I read the flyer, I'm like confused. Like, where do I gotta go? Where do I gotta meet? What is this going to be about? And just,
Well, we could even do what we used to do in 2020. Um, in our area, we did the Trump parades. We just get together at point A, and we would, whoever. Usually, we had about 50 cars. I was like, in one of them, I was the only truck, and we just run a route of, however many miles you want, 10 miles, 20 miles, 50 miles. And you go to another town, you disperse in that town, go eat dinner somewhere,
yeah.
um, congregate kind of deal. Um, bring your flags, stuff like that. That's what we did in 2020.
Yeah, so I
Let's
know
do
a
it
lady
again.
here. I know a lady here in Connecticut. She holds a flag wave every single Sunday. Every single Sunday of the year, she holds. I went to few of them. I don't know if I could commit to every single Sunday though, you know. But that's what she does, and she does have people come out and wave their Trump flags because that's what mainly they do. They get some hunks and whatnot. But she has like a huge networking. It's only mostly people from her town, and there's few
Yep.
other ones like
Community.
me that come from a different town and whatnot. I mean, it's a really great community to be around. And, if we could have these people and the rest of the people really come and, gather at the Capitol. They did a rally here in Connecticut when the convoy went to California. They had a rally here in Connecticut. They had one in New York, and New York was really great. I loved it. Connecticut was not so much. All we did was just a convoy, and there was no speakers really. Nothing really happened at the Capitol. If I had my way, I'd probably do it a little different. It's not really that hard to find people to speak. And especially now, you shouldn't really have the problem to find people like that suffered side effects that would want to speak about all this. Because that's what I would want the most out of these, let's say, rallies and, talking points. I would be okay talking about the guns as well, just to just the rights that they are taking away from you. That's something that I'm really all about. And especially for some reason, the mandates bother me like the most. Like I can't even, my brain cannot like comprehend like this is what's happening
Well,
here.
because mandates are not put in legally. They are just demands. They're We should stop calling them mandates. We should just say they're demands
Yeah, demands.
or
Yeah, exactly.
tyrannical orders.
Yeah,
They're not even the people that represent us in Congress aren't even putting them together. It's just one person saying, "Hey, I want you to do this." No, that's BS. That needs to stop. Yeah,
yeah.
I think you're onto something. Doing like a community gathering like once a month. You know,
Mm-hmm.
do a like I know in my area I could go to the biggest town, which would be like Knoxville. Maybe do a small run of people with flags going through town.
Yeah.
Maybe doing a little rally on the other side. You don't always have to do a rally either. Just make your presence known that you're proud of proud of this country.
Yeah. Yeah. I agree. Totally. And I mean, I understand people say that there's not going to be a lot of good that you're gonna really kind of have that goes towards the government. But just imagine you're networking. That's the one thing that you can have for yourself. Like for example, here in my state, just because of what I'm doing and because I do talk to a lot of people and whatnot, like my whole entire friends list here in Connecticut has changed within the last 2 years. And unfortunately, the ones that got vaccinated, we don't really talk anymore because we don't agree on certain things, and they don't agree with what I'm doing. So for that reason, we're just not around each other anymore. But if you could have the greatest networking, and have people that are willing to do something, and they are willing to always talk, they are willing to, spread awareness, they're not scared to hand flyers to people and whatnot. This is how you actually can change something, because there will be more and more and more people that are going to start finally paying attention to you. It's like, why are these people out there with these flags? Like, what are they doing? Like, why are they protesting? And maybe, you talk to these people. I'm talking about normal people, not like trolls, because you can't talk to trolls. I'm talking to just regular
Yeah, it's
people that
impossible.
walking on the street or whatever, and they're gonna get interested with why are you doing this? And then you explain yourself, and of course they're not gonna get it first time around. But maybe, the spinning wheel is gonna be like, like maybe there are people that don't want to shop. Maybe they want to be sick. So let them being sick. It's their choice as well. And so I just
Well,
think
yeah,
that it's going to take a lot more of um, talking, a lot more of showing the facts. Because me, honestly, personally, I like to speak on facts. And the more I keep finding out, of the side effects, and the more I keep finding out that people are actually dying, and the more that I keep finding out that we really don't know if these shots work or not, because we didn't have enough time with, the whole entire virus going on there. We don't know. How do we know? Who is able to provide me the data that is actually going to give me a solid proof and be like, yeah, we freaking saved the world.
we haven't
I
we
mean,
haven't had solid data in like 3 years, and we never
I
will.
mean, there are some studies that are coming out, and there are no studies at some point either. Because they didn't really, when I found out about the reproductive system, I read an article, they didn't really do much of a study, supposedly, on that. And then now we're gonna have all these people, putting babies out in the world. I want to see how that's going to turn out. How many messed up babies are we going to have? You know, and United States is already highest in having an autistic kids out of the whole entire world.
Well,
So
from my understanding, a lot of them that were affected, they weren't even able to have kids.
yeah, exactly. That's the thing. And then if you are having kids, how do you know how is it gonna affect your kid later? I mean, why? Like, oh my god, like I can't. I don't
I
even
mean,
get a flu shot. I
this
mean,
is
why do we need a
actually
flu shot even?
this is actually the a very harsh way of looking at it. I know people are gonna probably be like, "Oh, how could you say that?" But think about this for a second. If somebody did get the shot because they were just simply the kind of people that will just simply follow along with anything and everything they were told to do, would you want that person to be a parent anyway? They're not going to be raising their kids. The
No.
government's going to be raising their kids. I mean, it's a
Yeah.
harsh way to look at it, but to me, it's almost like natural selection. And that's not true for every one of them. I get it because there's a lot of them that were put in situations of you either lose your job or you get it, which means you can't feed your family. So now it was either I feed my family or I don't feed my family. That's a different situation. I'm talking about the ones that, oh, the shot's here. Let's go get it because they said it's good. I mean, come on, people.
Yeah. I mean, they could have done that to
Hey,
us
Tater.
with the flu, you know. They actually could have told us the same thing that they did with COVID, you know, honestly, because everyone would believe them, you know, if they started telling you that you got to go and get the shot for the flu, because, for example, if the two are going to mix at the same time, you're going to die. Go get it.
Right.
Some of them probably will. You know, I mean,
Yeah.
without even making their own research. I mean, will I agree with the fact that there are some kind of shots that, for example, kids should get? Because if you really get that disease, you're gonna be like done. Yes, I agree with
Yeah,
some of.
they've got good they've got some good vaccines that actually do some good that have actually saved people.
Yes.
But they took years and years of research and years of testing.
Yeah.
Um,
Yep.
for a virus that was unknown, they said they knew nothing about it. They sure in hell managed to get something really, really quick to combat it. Um,
Yeah.
not saying it's not saying it doesn't do anything good for you. Not saying it does anything bad for you. I'm just saying some of them that actually worked took years.
10 years is the research, and to really make construct one, at least 10 years, not 15.
I gotta read this one. Kimberly said, "My that's my husband you were describing. The government would never hurt me. He was the first in line to get his jabs. He sleeps down the hall now."
Oh my god!
That's
Wow.
bad.
Oh yeah, that's bad. He sleeps down the hallway.
You get the hell out of here. You sleep down the. Surprised he's not sleeping on the porch or out in the doghouse or something.
Yeah, you know what? But that's listen, that's actually serious, because what about you and your spouse don't agree on those things? And then the spouse goes and freaking vaccinate the kids.
Oh, there wasn't there a case like that in Texas,
I'm
or
not sure. I don't
was
think.
that a trans kid? It was either a vaccination issue or a trans issue, where
Yeah.
the one had custody and the other one was trying to stop it or something like that, and they got fined for it.
Yeah,
But yeah,
I can't
that would
imagine.
be
I think that's a divorce waiting to happen. I think I would kill my husband in his sleep,
oh,
like
it,
literally.
it's worse than a divorce because to me, that should be a parental discussion between the two and
Yeah,
consent from both before they do it. And if one of them goes on, yeah, that's what that's to me. That's almost worse than cheating on your spouse.
yeah, yeah. And imagine, I read a case on two kids that the parents went and got the flu shots for them, and accidentally, I think it was it Walgreens or CVS pharmacy, one of those two, gave them the freaking COVID shot. And the kids were
Accidentally.
young, like super young. And that was already like long time ago, where they didn't really know too much about it yet. And imagine you go and get a flu shot if you have to, right? Because they tell you at the
I gotta
daycare you
grab
gotta
something to
get
show
flu
you real
shot.
quick. I gotta grab
And
something.
yeah, and then you bring your kids, and your kids actually end up with a totally different shot. And then now you have it in their system, okay? And whoever is going to develop a myocarditis, and I always say that 20% of people that are going to develop myocarditis is going to die. So if your child ends up with a myocarditis, which is the heart, which is one of the most important organs in your freaking body, you're putting your child in 20% chances that's going to die. What do you got?
Smells. It smells like fuel because I was wearing it when my tank burst, so I gotta freaking get it washed.
Cleaned. My blood
Is it coming
type
out pretty
is
good?
B, positively unpoisoned. Yeah. You're B positive?
No, that's just
Oh, that's just saying,
it's a
okay, do
spin
you
on
know what your blood
it's a
type is?
no, I don't.
Hmm.
My my blood type is unpoisoned. It's a
Yeah,
spin off of the blood type, but
yeah.
um basically B positively
Yep. Yeah. No,
unpoisoned.
I get the what they're trying to say. But I'm always curious what like people's blood type is, and no one ever knows.
What's the purpose of knowing, to be honest?
Well, first of all, if you ever got into an accident, right, and they have to like give you the blood real quick, how are they gonna know?
Well, yeah, that's true.
Well, I mean, I drive
But
a lot,
but
so
anymore with the crap that's been going on, um, why would I want them to inject blood into me? I don't trust them.
yeah. Well, I actually put a note in like my wallet, what my blood type is, together with my driving license, and the name of the person who's unvaccinated, and it says, "Do not give me vaccinated blood."
Which is gonna be hard to find too.
No, if you know a
Pretty
person
soon,
that can, if you know the person that can donate that blood for you, that's not till later. But I think they are gonna come up with vaccinated and unvaccinated banks, just like with the sperm banks too.
yeah,
There's gonna be
they're gonna
vaccinated sperm and unvaccinated
my
sperm.
blood's gonna be worth some money one day. Trust me.
Not only blood, probably.
Yeah, I heard about that too. But I gotta show the other shirt that I got. If
You're
the
right,
light
right.
doesn't hit it too much,
Yeah.
can you? You might not be able to see that one. It's a
I
little light.
survived the great, and then oh shit,
Might not be able
died,
to see it. Nope, that'll
died.
help. Says died suddenly. I survived the great hashtag died suddenly. Uh, conspiracy of 2022. Then it's got the little skull with the nurse's
Yeah,
hat.
yeah, yeah. I don't understand what some people really telling you that we have some kind of a conspiracy theory, and it's just so funny because whenever I talk to someone or like discuss something, they're always calling me a conspiracy, like theory, whatever, pusher. And I'm like, but what are you talking about? I'm just speaking on the facts. You did not know that people are dying. You did not know that there's side effects. What kind of a conspiracy is this?
They
People
don't
are
know it
dying.
because they don't want to
That's
see
not a
it.
conspiracy.
They don't know it because they don't want to see it. Because if they saw it, they'd have to recognize that they were wrong. And
Yeah.
when we look into history, we know that there's a lot of people in this country, particularly one party, and then also the establishment on both parties, can never admit they're wrong ever. It doesn't matter on what it is; they are never wrong.
Yeah. I don't know. I have had a person on Facebook like started commenting on my stuff because my Facebook is like literally filled with FJB, and being absolutely like against everything and whatnot. I kind of have a quite of a following there. Um, so
Oh,
I do post all these
Bonnie,
things.
Bonnie
Huh?
wants to know what the other shirt is. I'm not. Bonnie wants to know what the other shirt is. I'm not
Oh,
sure what
okay.
the other shirt you're talking about, but this is since it's mine. I had her make me this on the front, but see that?
Cool. Yeah, yeah.
I'm not sure what the other shirt you're talking about specifically.
Mm-hmm.
Well, but JJ said Pfizer holds the record for the largest criminal fines in U.S. history. What's also interesting is I believe it was Pfizer that, afraid I'm going to get it wrong. Like, do you remember the story that came out 2 weeks after the election? I think it was when they were like, hey, we got a vaccine that's ready to go now. But then we find out that it was actually ready before the election. But then they find out one of the board members on that company was tied to the Bidens. Like, isn't that shocking?
Uh-huh.
Freaking sickening.
I don't ever believe anything that they say ever. Like anytime that they create something, I like turn around and I'm looking for something else that it's been really covered, by them. So I don't understand why United States also invests so much money and so much like guns and equipment to Ukraine. I mean, so much money then just went out there. It's like beyond. I
What are
don't
we
get
up
it.
to? 100. What are we up to?
60?
108
I can't
billion or
remember.
something like that?
Maybe, yeah. But I just somewhere I read that the United States is sending. Okay, now I can't repeat what it was exactly, but some kind of a special type of equipment that is supposed to help, Ukraine fight Russia and all that. And I'm like, so on top of the money, we're sending guns and all this equipment and everything. I don't understand. Like, why continue pumping into that war? What's the purpose of that?
Because the money goes over there and funds their I'm not sure what you would call it, the operatives over there, and then that money makes it back into their pocket again. It's literally just a way to send money to the laundromat to get it cleaned and have it come back to them. That's all it is. That's all. That's 100% all it is.
Mm-hmm.
I read an article the other day talking about how a lot of people high up in the Ukraine government had to step down because they discovered that suddenly they had new cars, new houses, uh, new toys that they had bought that obviously came from the money that we sent over there for their so-called little war they got going on.
Yeah.
But I know your family's over there in Poland, which is not too far from there. Um, what's it like over where they're at?
Well, they already sent one of the bombs or whatever the heck it was. It landed on Poland, Polish soil, actually, and accidentally, supposedly, and it was, I think it was Ukraine or whatever. I'm like, yeah, I don't know if it was Ukraine. I don't know if I believe what they say. I think it possibly was Russia, and Russia is just whatever, let us send one to Poland because they're helping Ukraine a little bit too much. And also, Russia is probably not going to forget what the United States is doing either. So they're going to hit us somehow. It's probably not going to be from the air and trying to, come and, fight you the old school type of way. They're going to hit us somewhere else, like somewhere else. I'm 100% sure. Um, but how it is, I mean, so far, Poland really wasn't affected. The only downfall of it is now Poland is full of Ukrainians. So Poland is the second, Ukraine right now. All you see on the streets basically and everywhere is like Ukrainian language, Ukrainian flags, and Ukrainian this and Ukrainian
Like
that.
refugees or what?
Yeah, like people from Ukraine went to Poland because it's the closest, because they don't want to be in the affected areas, and Poland has accepted all these people, and Poland is giving them places to stay and money and everything. And so now basically you're going to the store, you have all the Ukrainian people working, and you just literally hear on the streets Ukrainian language. And every country is going to have immigrants. Of course, I'm one of them, right?
Right.
I came here and all of that. So I mean, I can't really hold it against them because this is something that I also did. But government here did not help me with anything.
Right. You
You
came here
know,
the legal way.
Well, I mean, I got my visa and all this like stuff. Just how the Ukrainians are getting like the pass, in Poland, but Poland is pumping so much money into hosting these people and forgetting about Polish homeless, veterans and their own. We're like kind of putting Ukrainians on a pedestal right now because they're so poor and they need help and all that. But listen, whenever if you have a family, right, you're going to take care of your family first instead of taking care of some other people around you, right? So that's what we should be doing as a country too. If we're going to be spotless on helping our own, then we can help the rest. But that's not the case here. Same thing with the United States. There's a lot of people that really need help here in the United States, and we're not doing that. We're just going to pump the money somewhere else and help
Right.
other
We
people.
we can't. They were saying we can't afford to build a wall on the southern border, but yet we can send over $100 billion to Ukraine. Oh, and we
Yeah.
can send another $10 million to Palestine for
Yes,
gender
exactly.
studies. Like,
Yeah.
well,
Yeah, we're driving all the money away from here instead of focusing on what we really need in the United States. And what we really need is pump some money into our economy. That's what we need. But no, we're not going to
and
do
stop
that.
printing and stop
Yeah,
printing money.
exactly. So yeah,
If
I
we
mean, not
stop
that I
spending
have.
the money like that, we'd stop printing it to spend it. Like, just
Yeah,
stop.
correct.
Like, just hit the pause button or hit the self destruct button or something.
Yeah,
Stop
I
that
mean,
machine from printing more.
so like just work with what you have. It's not like, for example, I have some kind of a set budget, right? There's some kind of an amount of money that I make, and I gotta make it happen without that amount. Like no one is, giving me, money here and there, and I'm not able to like just click the button and freaking print, $3,000 because I was kind of cuckoo and I went shopping, last night and I spent 3 grand. Now I don't have money to freaking actually pay my bills, right? I mean, who does that? We're just gonna be printing and printing and printing. Like, just can we just work with what we have? Like try to make it
Yeah,
happen
if
within.
Wait, I gotta check that out. I gotta check that. Check that. So, Paper Cut Patriot just came on a Rumble. Said breaking news: massive explosion in the sky over Montana.
Oh, wow.
That was where that weather balloon was at, or not weather balloon, but spy
Yeah.
balloon, the Chinese spy balloon or whatever. I know if I was in Montana and I heard that was a Chinese spy balloon or whatever, I would have
Mhm.
been doing what Biden said and shooting my shotgun up in the air to warn them. Check to see
Well,
if
what I
that.
gotta tell you is 8 o'clock. I gotta kind of wrap it up because I have to take all this stuff to Elaine's house and set it up there. That's gonna take me a minute.
Tell Elaine I said hi. Um, I don't see anything over there. Oh,
Yeah.
seeing pictures that the yeah, I'm not seeing anything on that.
All righty. Well, oh, hey, Fry TV, what's up? I see him in the chat.
Hey, good to see you. I see Fright TV's on.
Yeah, Fry TV, come later to my auction. At least say hi.
Yeah, she's gonna have an auction about 8:30, 9 o'clock.
Yeah.
Buy you some
So
bears.
I was just saying I'm gonna have to go because I gotta pack everything to the car now, and then I
All right.
gotta unpack it in Elaine's and set everything up and make this happen. hopefully, hopefully it will be a good auction, and we are donating stuff to a foundation that is taking care of veterans. So we will be sending clothes and like supplies and other type of stuff. So I think it's a good cause, and the foundation is called Purple Hearts. So we picked it because we're here, in February about Valentine's Day. So hopefully that will be a good one.
All
We
right.
have 17 bears. Hey, did you ever
17.
show yours? I never seen yours.
No, I didn't. I didn't show it. I keep forgetting to show it, and I'm never live when I'm home, and it's at home.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I only seen a little bit a picture of it, but I think it's amazing.
Yeah, I still have to show it. I think I have a picture on my phone. I'm not sure,
Yeah, yeah, we
but
have
I'm gonna
several
keep looking
like
for this.
several cute ones, and we Elaine made like a big bears too, so they're like a lot bigger than the other ones. So we'll see how it's gonna go tonight. Maybe people are gonna be kind to me and not gonna be streaming. So I can have some people in my auction.
Maybe I'll have to see if I'm still up, but I gotta get up about 4 o'clock in the morning to head home.
Oh, jeez.
So
Yeah, really.
I'm hoping if I'm not up, I won't be able to. But if I'm up, I'll check it out.
Mm-hmm. Okay, awesome. All right,
Kimberly said
Glenn.
30 minutes. Let's go. Chop chop.
Yeah, I know. I will probably be late. Like I'm always late. So, but what I want to say is, if you want to talk next week, let me know. I'm here. Um, last minute for me is kind of tough. Because I lately have gotten a lot more accounts, so I kind of work a little bit at night now too. I'm cleaning some offices here and there, so um, depends what day is it going to be. But yeah, I'm definitely down.
Uh, I might end up trying to do a Friday night or a Saturday. It seems like doing panels for me during the week is becoming more and more impossible. So I'll
Hmm.
probably try to do like a Friday night or a Saturday.
Yeah. Well, next week, Friday, and Saturday, I don't think I will be available unless we do it
Oh, you're
like
on a
for about
PC.
an hour. I could
You're on
possibly
a
maybe
PC
squeeze.
right now. You wanna hop
What?
on?
Who, me?
No, Fried
Oh,
TVs.
Fry TV. All right. Well, then I'm gonna go, and you can have him. No.
Yeah, we might.
Okay.
Well, thanks for
All
coming on
right. You know,
anyway.
I'm
Have
gonna.
fun with the auction tonight.
Yeah, I'm gonna see you guys later then. Yes.
All right.
Okay. Awesome. So you guys can continue, and you guys have a great
Yeah, we
night.
can
Okay.
continue.
Bye.
Thanks, Polish.
Yeah, of course. Thanks for inviting me. Take
Have a good
care.
night.
Bye.
There you go. I put it in the chat. It was the quickest. I tried to find what they said about an explosion over Montana, but I couldn't find nothing. There's nothing that's being reported just by doing a simple search. I don't know. Maybe I'm not looking in the right place. I think my heater's still blowing on high. It's starting to get a little warm in here. I don't know what the heck's going on. I tell you what, that heater blows on high for a while. It gets bad. Hey, here we go.
What's happening?
Hey, hey.
Boy, it's been one hell of a
Well, good
week.
to see you. Did you get your power back?
Oh no, there's people that are leaving the neighborhood now because it could be weeks at this point. So they're living with their families and friends now. So I'm watching their homes. I'm the only one in the neighborhood with a generator. It looks like.
Oh, damn.
Yeah.
You're able to stay warm, able to stay alive,
I just started the wood
warm-ish.
stove. I ran out of wood yesterday, so I harvested wood today, and the neighbors gave me some wood. So everybody's kind of looking out for each other. And I've rigged up my water heater to run off the generator today, and I'm going to post that video tomorrow to show people how you can run your water heater on a generator and not blow a breaker or something. Because it's a 220 generator. I mean, sorry, it's a 220 water heater, but the generator, I'm like the cable I got coming into the house is only 110. So what I did is I took off the legs on the elements, and then I hooked up the hot on one side of the one element and the neutral on the other one, and then I bridged the two elements together, and that series the elements. And because those elements are 3,500 watt elements, and you're going in at 110, that brings the wattage down to about 560 watts. So I can actually run that on my regular inverter with no problem during the day. So I'm running 560 watts to heat my water right now, and then the rest of the studio and the house is pulling about the rest of it. So I'm pulling about 1,200 to 1,300 watts right now on the generator. And so if I disappear, that means I popped the breaker on the generator. But it's a 5,500 watt generator, so I should be okay. I'm not really taxing that
Well,
leg,
that's
but
good.
yeah.
Yeah, I didn't even know there was a big ice storm in Texas. You'd think they would have learned from a couple of years ago that they need to improve some stuff.
There's no way we
Um,
could have improved for this one because this was the biggest one that Texas has ever seen. Did you see my last video about it, the ice storm update?
nah, not yet. No.
If you ever get a chance, check out the video where it's got the freezing face on it and says Texas ice storm update. And I
Okay.
walk around the back of my property. The trees and the creek willows were leaning over the pecan trees,
Oh
touching
God,
the
yeah.
touching the ground. Everything's shattered. Um, the
So it's
ice
about
on
like it was a couple of years ago.
it wasn't as cold, but it was way more ice. See, a couple of years ago we got down to 3 degrees, and that's what I didn't have water for a week then, and this time we lost power, but I have water. So it's because it only got down
Okay.
to 28. And that's why we were having that freezing rain because it was raining and thunderstorm and then it would freeze on contact. It was literally thunder and lightning and then it was freezing on contact. And we had over an inch of ice on almost everything. All around,
Wow.
all around town, I got some footage today. There's just trees on in the streets. They've already cleaned up a lot of it, but everybody's running chainsaws. There's not one tree that doesn't have limbs broken or split or just completely fallen over. It's just crazy. So yeah, there's no way to prepare
Wow.
for this. This is one of those things where I knew we were heading to a mini ice age, but I didn't know it was going to be that quick. It's
Well,
just
they told us it was global warming.
yeah, right. That's the agenda to tax a carbon tax. That's so they can get us on a carbon footprint and tax us more.
Yeah. Well, for
Yeah.
those that don't know, this is Fry TV. I've been trying to line up a panel with him for a while, and schedules never work out. Um, and one of the reasons I wanted to have him on was because I think last weekend was the anniversary of the Freedom Convoy in Canada making their way into Ottawa. And I'm not sure when you started covering it, but it was fairly early on, and you were one of the places people could go to see everybody that was involved in the convoy. Did you start like day one, or were you
I
later on kind
I
of picked it
started
up?
like February the 7th or 8th, and I was just recording it with OBS, and the only reason why is because I heard in the news that the truckers were, doing horrible things in Canada. I'm like, you got to be joking. My dad's a trucker. He was a trucker. Truckers aren't like that. So I started recording the footage to show that they were not, because I was going to like post it and say, look, these guys are feeding people pancakes and they got bouncy houses. And then about 2 or 3 days later, I said, you know what? I might go live on my channel with this. So I started with 4 screens with like Travel Fun 69 and Ottawa Walks and all them guys. And I just had 4 of them at once. And at that time, I didn't even have them labeled up there. And then that first stream that I did that day when I went live got copyright strikes so bad on YouTube that they took the whole video down. They wouldn't even let it post.
Really?
Yes, and I still have that. I need to edit the audio out of the songs and I need to repost that, or I might just post it on Rumble. This is before I even had a Rumble account because it didn't get married on Rumble. Once I put my Rumble account, then all my YouTube videos would get mirrored on Rumble. So the second day that I went live was, I think, February the 11th or 13th. I get them mixed up. And that was whenever people started finding me. And I never knew that people were going to even watch. At first it was like 2 or 3, then 28. And then before I knew it, the heyday of the channel, there was like 4,500 people watching at one time. Whenever Canada was doing those hearings, and everybody was
Yep.
watching that, that's whenever the traffic really started. And then I started covering the stuff in the States. So that's how I transitioned from Canada to the States, the People's Convoy. So that's
Well,
that.
I've told Support Freedom, and I don't know if I've told you, but I think you and Support Freedom were one of the two outlets that were put together, um, that were a very big uh help to everyone to be able to see what was going on. If you couldn't find out who was live, you could go to yours, or you could go to supportfreedom.net to find out who was live. And that's how you'd be able to keep track of what was happening. Because there was a point in time in Ottawa when you really wanted to see what was going on because of how dangerous it was getting with those brown shirts down in there. They weren't brown, but I call them brown shirts.
Yeah.
Um,
the UN
because it was
troops.
getting rather dangerous for them. Yeah.
Yeah, the Gestapo, the UN, they flew those guys in, and they didn't speak the native language. They had an accent, and I mean, you saw what they
Yep.
did. Your own people won't do that to you at that point. The stuff that I saw. So they have to fly those people in like ants. And once you put an ant, if you take fire ants, if you want to get rid of fire ants, take some fire ants from one bed. It's got to be at least 20 feet away, so it's not the same bed. Put them in this fire ant bed, mix them back and forth, and they'll fight to the point to where they're just going to kill each other.
No
That's a
kidding. I didn't know that.
Yeah, fire ants do not get along. Yeah, I've done that before. And you can also take flour, just regular baking flour, and you just put it all on there, and it just gums them up, and that gets rid of them too. But
Well,
anyway, I'm
the easiest
tangenting.
way I've discovered to get rid of fire ants is pour the gas down into the whole hive. We had a massive hive at ours. I don't know if you call it a hive or what,
Yeah.
a massive one under the ground. And I was like, well, there's no way I'm going to dig it out or anything. And we had our goats that stepped in it, got freaking bit by them. And so I just poured some gas in there, let it sit about 5 minutes, and threw a lit piece of paper in there, and that took care of every single one of them.
So
Woof.
Darth Trader in the chat said that rice also works. I haven't tried rice. I'll have to try that.
There is one cool thing I'd like to do with that sometime is take that melted aluminum and pour it down in there. How they pour it down in there, then they dig it up and
Yeah,
get all the dirt out of it, make those weird looking
yeah, that'd be awesome. Like a
sculptures, I guess
hornet's
you would
nest.
call it.
Like a hornet's nest would be
Yeah,
fun too. Yep. But
yeah.
yeah, I've been in survival mode for the last 3 or 4 days, um, and it's been kind of interesting. But I'm gonna get to
Do
take a
you
warm
need
shower
any?
tomorrow.
Do you need anything sent to help you out, or are you good for now? Or
The only thing that I would love to have right now is a fat bank account, because this because
yeah,
that
yeah.
generator.
My cash app is get help Vern get rich. And I will transfer some money to Fry TV as well to help him with his
Yeah,
cash app getting fatter.
my fuel bill is going to be crazy. If it's going to be a couple of weeks,
Oh
I
man,
can't see paying $100. It's costing me about $100 every 2 days, 2.5 days for fuel on that generator. So, and keeping it filled
holy
up.
cow!
I can run it for 12 hours before I have to refuel, and I filled it up at 250. I have to keep a log of all this stuff. So that way it doesn't stop in the middle of the night. So what I do is I shut everything down, and then I go out and fill it up at 140, and that buys me time to, if I need to sleep in, if I want to relax, I don't have to get up and refill the generator. So yeah, I've been going to bed about 3 o'clock in the morning and getting up at 6. I'm averaging 3 hours of sleep a night because I got to watch all this stuff, because I got extension cords strung around. I had a lot of this stuff set up where I didn't have cords, but you prep and you prep and you prep, and it's never perfect and never enough. So you're always still stringing cords and shifting loads on different systems because I have 2 or 3 different power systems, solar systems, and I'm always sharing loads with. So I still have a lot of fine tuning to do, but I'm able to survive. I'm the only one in the neighborhood that's drinking hot tea and taking a warm shower and has lights, and I got the studio going, and that's what I've been prepping for years. And I'm finally able to use my preps, and I see where my weaknesses is, and I see where I've like, okay, that's working
Yep.
pretty good. But it's eerie.
Now for those that say prepping is stupid, this is a situation where it's nice to have some food. Now you kind of reminded me of something that I need to do, which is get a generator because I got like 2 big freezers full of food.
Get two.
It's a lot of meat that's going to go to waste
Get get two
if I don't
smaller
get it.
ones and get 2 smaller ones and make sure they're propane and electric start, remote start. Never get anything but a remote start propane generator, and this is why. Propane is easy to store. You can go fill up the 20 pounders. You can find them. Sometimes your neighbors will give them to you from their barbecue pits. And with a remote start generator, you don't have to worry about, especially with propane, you don't have to worry about the carburetor gunking up in the wintertime. That sucker's going to fire up a lot faster than a gasoline. And if you're going to get a gas generator, I say don't. Make sure you run ethanol free gas only in it. Never run a generator with ethanol gas because that stuff will just choke up in 6 months if you let it sit there or sooner.
What about diesel?
No, diesel's still a pain in the butt because you got a lot of storage to deal with. Diesel still goes bad, and they're very expensive. Propane is the way to go. It burns cleaner, and it's easy maintenance, and you can store those tanks really easy. And hot swapping a tank on a propane is a lot safer than filling up a tank on gasoline. So, you got your hot exhaust system. If you spill gas, you could have a fire going there. So that's why propane is the safest thing for generators, and it's
Now,
reliable.
Breaking Spectre said on Rumble, he said, now just imagine if you didn't have a gas stove. Do you guys still have natural gas flowing, or is that shut down too?
No. Okay, here's another thing that I want to rant about. This is the last little subdivision that was built. I live right on the edge of the city limits, and they didn't put gas in our neighborhood. So we're all electric. So everybody here that's living and all around me, they're all electric. Your water heater's cold. You got cold water. You can't cook. You can't do anything. It's all electric because all the power's out. So yeah, we don't have gas at all. Period. There's no gas lines coming through the neighborhood.
Wow.
Yeah,
See
and
that
see,
that's something that was interesting that I seen. Was it Colorado that they were saying these people that went through this smart system, smart thermostat or whatever, if they were caught having it set over a certain amount, it would automatically like set it back down to a certain amount to
yep,
use less electricity.
yep.
That's just like that. That's invasion. Like, stay the hell out of my own house.
Well, these Nest thermostats that people get, the little, ones you can control from the internet, the Nest ones, and all the smart thermostats. You can enter into a program where it's a benefit to you. You think it's a benefit, but what it does is, whenever there's a heavy load on the system, it'll turn down your thermostat without you knowing, or shut your AC off completely, or heater. So yeah,
Yeah, and guess who can control that?
yeah,
Always
the
somebody on the other end that can control that.
yeah, the powers that should be.
Yeah, exactly.
But it's
Yeah,
eerie.
I also was gonna have I was also gonna have somebody else on tonight that was I think I told you about her. They're doing some event this weekend. And they were trying to get situated. She said they had all the trucks show up with the horses and nobody took care of the property. So now the trucks are stuck full of horses, like I'm guessing mud or snow or whatever. So that kind of went lovely. But she
in
was one of
Texas.
those that was no up in Canada. She was one of the Freedom Riders that went down to Coots.
Coots. That's
And
where they
Coots
did
is
the
one we
bridge.
didn't really have. No, Coots is the Coots, Alberta, the Montana Alberta line. On
Isn't that where
15th.
they stood in the border? They had them on each side.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
And
yeah.
they had the RCMP had blocked off a certain parts. Nobody else can come join, and they had the horses come in. She was one of the people riding the horses. They call them the Freedom Riders. And they were having an event. They're having an event this weekend, like an anniversary kind of deal, with their horses. So I was going to have her on, but they were having some problems. But
Yeah, well, I almost
Coots
didn't
was
make
one of
it.
those that wasn't really covered.
Yeah, I've restreamed it, so I watched the whole event. But yeah, it didn't get much media coverage.
I didn't know there was even a streamer there. I just know I'd see clips here and there, but I didn't actually see a streamer that was there.
Oh yeah,
Um, and it was
I
kind of hard to figure out which one you wanted to watch. The freaking what was going on in Coots or what was going on in Ottawa. There's way too much information rolling in all at once.
yeah, I think I had two or three streamers at that event that were pretty reliable, and it was pretty chaotic, because they were marching people back and forth and trying to hold the line. It was kind of crazy there for a while.
And what about you remember the story of how and they like dispersed right after this happened? They found some weapons in somebody's trailer or something like that. Like I quit hearing anything about Coots, and they all just disbanded when they found this one person that had several guns in his trailer. Um, Almost
That's
stunk
in Ottawa, right?
me like it was a setup.
That was
No, that was Coots.
really. See, I don't remember that.
It was like right when they found them, they all dispersed. It was almost like it was a setup, and they knew it. And this is one thing that we didn't hear anything about it afterwards. Nothing came out. It was complete silence. Everything was gone. They left. Um, to me, it stunk almost like the RCMP had stashed some guns in there somewhere, and then magically found them, and they knew the gig was up.
Oh yeah,
It was not. I mean, once they found them, the gig was up.
yeah, yeah. Some things I can't remember. Yeah, that was. It's been a. It's. It's time flies. It's hard to think that it's been over a year
Oh my
now.
god, I know, right? Like, and like I was telling Polish Agnes, I feel like the Canadian convoy deserves the most credit out of everything that was done last year because of the fact that what they started had a ripple effect across the entire globe
Yeah,
of everything
yeah.
else that went on.
They know how to protest and party at the same time.
I'm telling you, they had freaking hot tubs. They had they had food. They had um.
Rev and
There was
Kevin,
one
you
Kevin.
can't forget about Rev and Kevin, man. The guy in the black
I
truck.
remember that one.
Oh, really? Rev and Kevin, he was the one in the black truck at and they would stand in front of him with all the cameras, and he's like, "Run, run!" He was just constantly
Oh,
revving his truck.
I might have seen it. Yeah, I might have seen it, but I don't know really any names of anybody that was there. I just remember seeing the whole freaking caboodle. But
Yeah.
one of the things that kind of caught me, you remember when they started towing some of the trucks out,
Hmm.
and there was a couple of companies that were um sort of docs, not really docs, but they were really posted out there that this company here was helping tow them. We need to call them and we need to call them out. We need to stop doing business with them. I actually researched one of them and I called them up. I said, hey, so there's these stories going around. Yeah, yeah, we know about the stories. We weren't towing them. What he told me, he goes, we were actually out there to help them move like the stage or something from one place to the other to kind of clear things up a little bit. And people kind of set it up to where it looked like they were towing trucks out of there. He goes, actually, that one weekend they had bought a bunch of pizza for him. Like, so everybody jumped on board to sort of try to put this company out of business, and they didn't tow a single truck out of there. They were just there to help. I mean, it's
Huh.
sad. Everybody kind of got on board with it and just started attacking them.
Yeah. It was chaos. It was
Oh my
towards
god,
the end.
it was a welcome to chaos though, as far as before people started getting hurt anyway.
Yeah.
I
And I
just
think what really shut things down is when they started seizing people's bank accounts. That's whenever people started getting
yeah,
scared, and that took the steam out of everything because the donations and the money ran out. Because the money was coming in and they were going to
yeah,
stay. And when they started attacking the monetary
yep,
system and the banking system, and everybody's accounts got seized, and then when they told Eric, the Eric's company that he worked for says you got to get that van, you got to get that truck out of there because we either we're going to fire you and the whole company. So if you don't get your truck back, we're going to fire everybody and you're going to be blamed for it. So he left. I don't know if you remember that, the guy in the red truck that was like right in the front there, Eric. So anyway,
I
that's
remember I remember one of the trucks had to pull out
yeah, that was Eric. Yeah,
or
and
something
then
like that.
he wrecked his truck, that truck in like September 29th, I think. Rolled it over. Something happened. He was hauling some carrots. So Anyway, that truck has some history to it. I'd love to take the cab of that truck and make it into a studio for streaming. Put it
Oh my
inside of a
God,
big
that'd be freaking amazing.
put it
Yeah.
inside of a big shop. Just the whole truck, and just make a studio with it because it's totaled now. But that would be cool to have it as a studio.
Be actually kind of nice to put that on the back of a pickup truck as your studio on the road kind of deal.
Yeah. Except I don't want to leave the house anymore. I work
Yeah.
from home. Why do I want to leave the
Oh,
house anymore?
I wish I could stay home. Oh, you need to text me your PO box so I can send you one of my bowls. I told you I'd
Yeah,
send you a bowl. I still
I'll just
haven't
give
done
you
it.
my straight up address. It's okay if you know where I live.
Okay. Uh, yeah. It's, yeah. Just go ahead and do that, and I'll send it to you.
Remember, you shipped me that
Uh.
flag. Well, actually, what's his name shipped it, but yeah, you gave it to him and he shipped it to me.
Oh yeah. Yep. I think he got one too.
Yeah, and
I
you
think I gave
autographed
him
it.
one. Gave you one.
Let me grab
Yep.
that real
And
quick. Well, let me go
the
grab
lady
the
that
flag.
was supposed to be on too has one as well.
I'm gonna grab it real quick.
Yeah, I'm seeing Breaking Spectre said that too, as far as the explosion over Montana. Really curious what that is, what it was though.
I need to load the wood stove up real quick. I'll be right back.
All right. Well, that's good, Hot Damn. Welcome to our Discord. There's posts on Twitter. All right, I'll have to check Twitter out after we end the live. I'm sure we'll hear about it tomorrow morning. We'll have, well, if the Pentagon's even going to tell us what happened. But it's kind of, if it was the Chinese spy balloon they had up there, it's kind of sad that it took over 24 hours for us to do something about it. That tells China that we can do what we want for 24 hours before they'll do anything. We're weak as hell.
All right, so here's the flag. Some of you might not have seen this before, but you can see where he autographed the flag. I know the lighting's not good in here, but let me turn on the overhead light real quick. Let's get a better look at this. Oh, duh, that's not hooked up to my backup system. We don't have any grid power. What am I thinking? All right, so yeah, there's the flag. That's as much light as I got in here with the generator.
Yeah, I can see it.
So I would love for you. I know a lot of people know the story, but I'd love for you to tell the history of this flag and where it went in D.C. if you can. That would be awesome.
That was that was one of the four flags I had on the truck. When I joined the convoy in New Mexico, I had it on all the ways to Hagerstown. It did like 2 or 3 laps around DC, and then I had it on there when I went into DC with X-Ray and about 4 or 5 other trucks, a couple cars. I think I did 1 or 2 times that went into DC. The one time was down Constitution Avenue. The other time was whatever the street was on the other side of the White House down to 14th. Basically, made an entire circle around it with that particular flag. Support Freedom has the other one that's like that. It was on my mirror. And then the lady friend out of Canada, she has the one of the little bigger ones, and then I have the other one hanging on my wall in the house.
So yeah, this thing's got some miles on it. This thing's
Probably at least 3,000.
wow.
At least, yeah.
Yeah, it's pretty frayed.
It held up better than I figured, though. Those flags are actually fairly durable.
Yeah, I mean you could see where it started ripping down here. You probably
Yeah,
can't see that, but
I think because that's one of those that's not a double faced material. I think it's like two pieces of material sewed together, and
yeah,
I think
it
they were
is.
coming apart on
It
the
is
end.
because it's split right up on top. So yeah, it's two
Yep.
pieces. But yeah, hot day up. No, I haven't had power since Wednesday. So I'm on generator power right now. And when the sun comes out, which it hasn't, I can run on solar power. A lot of my stuff on solar direct if the sun comes out, but it's just been too cloudy. So I've been running generator for the most part. People
Man,
think that we
that's
don't get
expensive
ice
too.
in Texas. That's the thing that really puzzles me. I'm going to have to start
Oh,
uploading
they
our.
do.
Yeah, we get it bad because
I
we don't.
remember. I remember one year I went into north of Dallas there. There's a truck stop north of Dallas that I tried getting into. Well, I did get there, but it was so much ice because it would freeze overnight, and then it would turn like into a slush during the day, and then freeze again. Well, where all these trucks were coming off the interstate and making a right turn to go into the truck stop, then another right to get into the truck stop. That right there was about a 6 inch, about 4 to 6 inch deep ice trail to where you got off the interstate, you didn't have a choice but to go into that truck stop because your truck literally would slide into those grooves and you could actually sleep driving into the truck stop because it would take you there whether you wanted to or not, like you're on a railroad.
Like the old dirt roads
Yeah,
that we used
Texas
to
gets
have out in the
ice.
country. We used to have old dirt roads like that. You just
Yeah,
get in the track and you just let go of the steering wheel. Yeah.
yep, yep.
Because what would happen
Yeah,
is
it was
you'd go through there when it was muddy, and you'd make ruts, and when it would dry up, you'd have you a track.
yeah. It's actually worse when Texas gets winter weather than it is in any other state. Well, except for like me, I mean Oklahoma and places like that. But because what happens is you'll be, and I seen this happen. It was nice during the day. It was a little wet, and then the sun started going down, and all of a sudden you start
Yep.
seeing cars flying off on the other
Yep.
side of the overpass because the overpass froze up.
Yep.
Well, what makes it even worse is, well, everybody in Texas has a four-wheel drive pickup. And everybody in Texas, for some reason, thinks that, well, I'll just put it in four-wheel drive and I can still drive the same speed.
No.
They don't
No.
realize that it's ice. It
Yeah.
just means you got to go off. You're not going to go sideways. You're just going to fly off the road.
Yeah. They call it black ice here, and you're right. It'll freeze up
Yeah.
overnight again. All the roads will freeze up, and you just can't go anywhere. Up north, they got snow
Yep.
plows and snow. You can drive on the snow. Down here, we don't get as much snow. We don't have snow plows, and it's just ice. It's like driving on a big ice cube. You just can't hardly go anywhere. And
Didn't they have a couple of years ago, they were talking about maybe having to cancel the Super Bowl or something like that because of ice? And they
I don't.
had like, if I remember right, they had snow plows coming down from freaking like Wisconsin to help them clear the roads for the Super Bowl down
Yeah,
there in Houston.
I don't remember. I know Snowmageddon. I'll never forget that one. A couple years ago. But I've added preps to my situation because of that. I put a solar powered. It's running on my battery system. I have an exhaust fan in the bathroom with an LED light, and I use it every day. So when I go into the bathroom, I flip on that. It's a foot switch. I put a foot switch on there. It's right beside the light switch. So I turn that on. I turn on the regular light, and I turn on the other exhaust fan. And I got two exhaust fans and two lights. So if the power goes out, I still have an exhaust fan if I'm showering, and I still have a light. And I use it every day now because I haven't had power since Wednesday. So, and
Yeah.
you get in the
One
habit
other
of
thing that go ahead.
you get in the habit of turning on light switches, and then nothing happens. And I'm doing that
Well,
all
for me,
day.
I grew up. The For me, I grew up having to light my light. We used kerosene lamps.
Yeah, I got all my
Um,
Coleman
that's
stuff,
another
and
good investment to have.
yep, I got the dual fuel ones and the regular ones, but I'm not using those because
Um,
I got the generator right now.
what it does too, and you might not think it does, because we had. I don't know if you know what I mean by the kerosene lamps. It's got like a reservoir on the bottom where you put the kerosene in. It's got this big wide wick that comes out, and then it's got
Yep,
the shade, very long shade.
yep,
Those, believe it or not, will actually help heat your house more than you think. So even if you're, because like for us during the summer, it was awful hot in the house unless we opened the windows, because you'd use that for light when it got dark, and it actually put off more heat than you thought. So
yep.
you're like, it's like full purpose. You get some light and you get some heat.
I took that propane lantern that I got lantern and put a lid on the top of it. I put a hole in a lid, like a metal lid, and I set my coffee cup, or which now it's spiced tea. I quit drinking coffee, and it keeps my coffee warm, or my tea now. So that's pretty cool. You got heat and light, and it runs off propane.
Yep. One thing that I learned this past winter, because where I'm from, we had a major freeze, and we've never gotten as cold as we did then. Pipes froze. Well, and this is something that's people need to think about as well. When, depending on what area you live in, and our area is probably not going to happen because we have a more very conservative, small town, small community kind of place that I live at. But if they were to say, hey, we don't want to give you any more water, or you only get so much water, you're screwed if you're on
Yep.
city water. Well, the property that I'm on used to be on well water, but the city came in and put city water in it. But what they did is they left the well house there. And so the owner of the property went in and redid the well to where we have a well now for our garden and our barn. And artists, it's it's the weirdest thing they did. They came up into the well house with the city water, and then it comes up out of the ground and makes like a little U-turn with a valve on it, to where when my pipes froze, rather than just putting all the pipes back together, I went and took my put a little extension on to the well water, to where all I have to do is put a valve on there to run well water into my house. If they say that you only get so much water, well, guess what? Now I'm in control of my own water, because
Yep.
I can hook up the generator to the freaking pump, and I have water.
Yep.
That's another thing people need to think about, because once your pipes freeze up for 2 days, you really realize real quick that how much water you actually use.
Yeah. And see, I had that same problem with Snowmageddon. We got down to 3 degrees. I got the well to start, and I took a shower, and I was back feeding the house with my well, and I told her, I was like, "You better get in the shower now." She's like, "Oh, I'll wait 20 minutes for the hot water to get hot again." It was plenty hot. I was like, "You need to get in there now." She went in there. It was froze up already. My pump and everything froze. So it was that quick. When it's 3 degrees outside, there's not moving water in Texas. We're not set up for 3 degrees because our systems are, a lot of it's above ground or not very deep. So yeah, even a water well is going to freeze too. So you're lucky that you got that to work.
The well itself didn't freeze, but there's enough pipe that was exposed out of the ground, well, in the well house, but out of the ground, that part froze. Um, but yeah, we basically were just not smart enough and weren't really thinking that the way it's set up, we could put a little heat lamp in there that'll keep everything nice and warm, and we just never turn it on.
Yeah, it makes a big difference if you can stop the breeze from going through there and just put you like a 100 watt light bulb or grow light or something. Or even Christmas
Yep,
lights, the old incandescent Christmas lights, the big bulbs, not the LEDs.
yep,
Just run those around it, that'll heat it up enough.
yep. Breaking Spectre said there are prepper channels showing the use of tea candles inside a few layers of ceramic flower pots, acting as mini heaters.
Yep.
That's
And
interesting.
you can also use Crisco. Crisco will burn for a long time. You just stick a wick down into Crisco and you got your Crisco candle right there and it'll burn for days. So
No kidding.
yeah, that is one of the best candles. Yeah, I wouldn't eat Crisco, but it makes a great candle. It's a good lubricant and a great candle. Yeah. But yeah, look up Crisco candles, Crisco heaters. That's a thing.
They're talking a lot about that Chinese spy balloon or whatever. They're talking about there's an explosion over Montana.
So do you think they blew
Dosha
that
what?
thing up? Because that thing was full of helium.
I don't know. I mean, personally, it was stupid blowing it up 24 hours after it was there, right? Like they've already shown China that they can do whatever they want for 24 hours before we do anything. But Dosha wants to know what you use for a wick.
I'm looking that up to see. I can't make a recommendation without seeing what the best would be.
I know you could probably use rope,
Yeah,
certain types
you
of
can
rope,
use if you got string or anything like that. Anything will work.
and actually you can get the wooden wick candles, which makes me think you could probably use a certain type of wood too. Get like a splinter or something, stick it down in there.
Yeah, but yeah, Crisco candle can save you. It'll give you light and heat, and it burns. Let me see. I can't remember if it's 72 hours. Let's see.
Holy cow, it's Spectre, three of them.
How long will a Crisco candle burn? Yeah, 72. No, 72 days.
72 days.
Days. Yeah, the big tub.
You know,
The big. That's the
and
big Crisco.
if you're really desperate, all you need to do is somehow put some kind of aluminum shade on top or around it. That'll intensify the heat as well.
Yeah, you can mod it however you want to for like warming up your drink or I don't think it would
Yeah.
cook an egg, but if you put a bunch of wicks in it, it's going to burn faster, but you might be able to start cooking off of it at a certain point. Because
Well,
if it
you
lasts for
probably could fry an egg if you could probably fry an egg if you use the right surface. Because we used to do what they call like the hobo breakfast, where you just take a little candle and put it underneath like a coffee can, the old metal coffee cans, and you could fry bacon on that.
on with one candle,
Yeah, it was like they had taken like a little container about the size of like a cat food container, and they um put some kind of wax cardboard mixture in there and light that up. I'm not sure, like a little tea light candle might not get enough, but as long as you get it close enough to the surface, it should heat it up enough.
somebody's like, "Who is that?" Oh, that's Fry. Here, I'll put a
That's
flashlight on.
Fry TV.
I don't have any overhead lights I can turn on because the grid power's out and I'm running on generator. So I'll just do a quick. Yeah, that's me. Yeah, I'm letting my beard grow. I stopped shaving 3 days after Christmas, so it's about 2 inches now.
Well, that's good. Think you can
Yeah.
get it up to this?
Oh yeah, I'll have that. I'll have that in another couple of months, easy. Yeah, it grows quick.
I wish you would get longer, but once it gets to this size, it starts getting a little straggly, so I have to keep trimming it a little bit.
Well, see, I'm lucky. Mine does that straight stuff, and it gets pointed, so it really looks like I groomed it and I'd have it. So I'm kind of lucky that way.
Oh, mine is freaking curly as hair. Like if I pull on it, it'll grow by 2 inches.
Yeah, I guess I'm lucky that way. But I don't have to worry about a spousal acceptance factor anymore. So I'm like, I'm gonna just let my let my beard grow
Well,
out.
you know what my spousal acceptance is this one rule: don't ever shave it. I since I've been married, I've only shaved my beard off once because it only took once for her to tell me you'll never ever do that again because she said I lost about 8 or 10 years if I shaved it off. She's like, I ain't gonna be married to no damn baby face.
Yeah, if I shave completely, I do have a I look a lot younger
Yeah,
without
I
that.
think that's for pretty much everybody.
Yeah. And a lot of people don't realize that I'm 52, or I'll be 52 in March. They think I'm a lot younger, but yeah,
You look younger.
I'm rode hard and put up wet. Says my back and my right knee.
Yeah, it's not the age, it's the miles.
Yeah, I got a lot of miles, a ton. I feel like I've lived 8 different lifetimes when I think back what I've done in my life. It's kind of wild.
Yeah. Well, when I think back what I've done in my life, it's kind of boring. I drove truck.
Oh, I've had so many different profession. I was a plumber, a forklift driver professionally. I used to design candles at Legacy lamps. I worked at a scale interface company building scale interface boards, doing wire wrapping, electronics, programming EPROMs. Um, I worked at structure cabling for 16 years, doing fiber optics, network, IT work. I had my own business doing IT work and structure cabling. I did point-to-point wireless stuff. Um, I would haul cotton with that white Chevy that I had when I was a kid to the cotton press. That was something I would do
No
all the
kidding.
time. So, man, I've done so
You
many
get a little bit
things.
of everything.
Yeah, and I grew up on a farm driving a tractor as a child. I spent most of my childhood behind a John Deere tractor, like a 4430 and a 4420 and a 4010 hauling round bales with one at a time back then. Just stab it with the fork and
Yeah.
you're hauling one at a time, one at a time.
Now they
Um,
have like three or four and they're pulling a trailer.
oh, you got buggies and all that stuff now. Yeah, well, you do it with your truck. Yeah. But back in the day, it was
Yeah.
just stab and go. Um, Yeah, I worked at Western Auto when I was a kid, putting wagons and bikes and all this furniture stuff together. I was not even old enough to be employed, but the lady that managed the place allowed me to work there. It was completely illegal, but I always liked to work with my hands, and I always wanted to make my own money. So I was in heaven
Right.
putting all that stuff together, man, putting the bikes and everything together. And I was well under age, like I was probably 12 or 13 or 10.
That was the norm though.
Yeah,
That was normal.
yeah.
When I think it was 10, 11 years old, I was working at a freaking guy small business that was processing furs. Like 10, 12 years old, I was out there freaking skinning raccoons, beaver, muskrat, mink, coyote, fox. I mean, everything that they use the hides off of, I was skinning them, stretching them, drying them, getting them ready for them to ship them out to process them. And I made good money too, paid
Yeah.
piece rate. Um, but shoot, you can't get those jobs in. Everybody wants 15 bucks. You know what? I probably made more than 15 bucks an hour doing that because it was piece rate. The harder I worked, the more I made.
Yeah.
Now everybody wants that minimum wage of 15 bucks an hour for flipping burgers. I
Yeah.
mean,
Oh, I forgot I had a
Now,
radio
actually,
station.
you're lucky if you get to do that because of all the regulations they have about, how old you have to be to do this or that. I mean, I was operating machinery at that age.
Oh yeah, they put us on tractors and trucks when I was damn near out of my diapers. It seems like I was not big enough to even push the clutch in on a tractor, so I would have to get up on the seat like this and put the seat all the way down as low as I could, and then push both legs to push into clutch because it was quad range. Once I get it in gear, I could let the clutch out, and then I was good, you know.
Yeah.
But yeah, because I wasn't even strong enough to push the clutch in. I had to use two legs.
Yeah,
Yep.
and now they call that child slave labor. No, that's
No.
just getting children to, do work, get them
Yep.
to learn responsibility. And a lot of times kids like doing it because it's satisfying. It's doing something productive.
Yep. And we
Yep,
hauled
I
hay.
I picked up walnuts too.
We hauled a ton of hay, square bales, when I was a kid. Man, you talking about getting in
That's
shape?
one that's something that in my area that's something you would do as a kid during the summer
Yep.
was either you go to the farmer, help him, cut hay, bale hay, stack it, store it, whatever. Or the other thing that was very popular in our area was detasseling. I don't know if you know, I don't know if that's in Texas or not, but I know
No.
in Indiana
No, we don't.
you would go out and detassel. You basically you go in there at a certain stage, you go into the corn stalk and you pull the tassels off of like every other row, every 4 rows or whatever for I had a guy explain it to me one time what it does, but I couldn't remember for the life of me what it was.
We don't do that in Texas.
That was something that kids love to do because they'd make a little bit of money during the summer, not much, but a little bit of money. Or like we'd go to my grandpa's store once a year or twice a year or whatever. We'd do inventory for him, stuff like that. Kids loved that kind of stuff, or used to.
Yeah, the first tractor I think I drove was a Model A or B, Poppin' Johnny, and I can remember this, and I don't have really a good memory. They put me on it and popped it in gear, and I had no choice but to go somewhere. And they said, "All right, go around the church and then come back." But the church was like 2 miles away, so I'm sitting there. I'm like, "All right, this is cool," but then wasn't strong enough to pull the clutch back. I was little, so I started crying because all I could do is just keep it from hitting something. So I'm going around the church. I'm like, I can't stop this thing. So I finally get back up to Grandpa's house, and they figured out I wasn't strong enough to pull it back, and they jumped up on there and pulled it back. But that's how young they start you off in the farm. You're not strong enough to operate
Yeah,
the equipment. At least I wasn't. I was a little kid. Little bone kid. I was always. It took me a while before I started. Growing. I was always a
that's how people got their experience in the workforce and whatever you want to call it was just doing small stuff like that on the farm, learning how to drive on the farm. Shoot, by the time I was able to get my license, I kind of knew how to drive already because I drove around the farm.
Oh yeah, I was driving. I was getting busted because my first vehicle was a family reject. It was a 1972 Lincoln Continental with a 460 four-barrel, and that sucker would get it down the road. So that's how I got to the farm from the house to my grandpa's house to go drive the tractor and plow the fields. And I used to make it to the farm real fast, and I would get in trouble because the neighbors would snitch on me. They'd call my mom and say, "Mike's hauling ass down the road again." It's like busted. And then I would sneak into town. I'd sneak into town in the car, and I was probably 9 or 10. Who knows? Maybe younger. And it was, that's the way it was on a farm. And then I got my first truck. I don't like cars. I got my first truck, and it was a 1979 Ford 3/4 ton with a 400 modified, and that's still to this day one of my favorite trucks. I wish I'd have never sold it. And then I rebuilt the motor when I was older. I bored it out to 430, put a kind of a torquey cam in there, and I did something stupid. I put a 3 grand stall converter because back in the day, we're farm boys. We raced our trucks. You know how people in the city race their cars? Well, we would hop up our trucks and race our trucks. So it was a race
Yeah,
truck to me, you know. And I put a
or
system in it.
tractors.
Yeah, and I put a system in it. Back then, the system was consisting of a Sparkomatic stereo with a graphic equalizer with the built-in 20-watt amplifier. You know, but that's what it was back then.
You know that the tractor. My dad still has the tractor, International, that has a tape player in it. But it was a tape player I've never seen because I didn't grow up with them. Because for one, I was Amish, and by the time we left the Amish, they weren't using those tapes. But it was the old, um, they were the old real thick ones, and they were long. You might know what they call them. We only found like one or two that we ever could find in stores that we could use in it. Crap, I forget what the name of it is.
You're not talking about an eight
Anybody
track,
know
are you?
what I'm talking about?
You're talking about a 4 track
The
or eight
what?
track? 8 track tape?
I I have no idea. It was like, you know how the cassette tapes you get now are like sort of thin and not very wide. They got two wheels in it. This
Right.
one was like about the same width, but twice as long, and then probably about an inch thick,
Yeah, that's an
if I
8 track
remember right.
tape. Yeah, I still have. I
Yeah,
still have an 8 track player.
that tractor still has one of those in there.
Yeah, yeah,
I
that's
don't
an
even
eight
know what
track.
year the tractor is, but it's got an old freaking tape player in it.
Yeah, and they call it an 8 track because it's got 4 heads, and when it plays one way, the head shifts up that way. When you go in reverse, the head shifts down, or the head will shift to each different
Oh, okay.
track. So it's technically got 8 tracks on it.
Yeah, that was interesting to me. I didn't know they had more than one type of cassette tape. You probably can't even find them anymore anywhere.
No, they don't make 8 tracks as far as I know. They still make cassettes, and vinyl's kind of hip now for all the hipsters. Let's
Yeah, I've
see.
seen those making a comeback.
Oh, and I forgot I was a general manager of my own radio station here in Texas, and the RF engineer. So I would build out the studio. I built out a complete radio studio, minus the transmitter and the antenna that was already there. But I had to rebuild the ATU box and tune the transmitter. But yeah, I did that too. I can't believe I forgot about that. So yeah, like I said, I feel like I've lived 8 lifetimes. Um,
Yeah,
when I
you
was
went from one end of the spectrum to another. Like you went from candles to tech.
Yeah, well, I grew up on a farm, but my dad had a radio station in the hometown that I live in right now. So when I was a little kid, we had a farm, and we were still farming, but then we would do the radio stuff too. So it was a really weird mix between the two. And it was a AM station, 1440 KELG, and it played classic and country music. And I remember as a kid cutting commercials on reel-to-reel tape. So we had these and sound effects. There was no computers back then, so all your sound effects came in on records. It came in on vinyl. So we had a whole sound room with just nothing but vinyl, with all the sound effects and music samples. And what you had to do is you had this huge book, and you go through this book and you say, okay, I want a chicken crowing. You go through here and you figured out how it was categorized, and then you say, okay, it's this one, this color, and you go find that vinyl, you put it on the turntable, and then you play it onto your reel to reel. And then you would master tracks on your reel to reel. And then once you get that on your reel to reel, then you would mix it down to your master cassette, your cart. It's what they call carts. So back in the day, commercials on radio stations were played on something called cart machines. So once you got it on the cart, then you would take it into the studio, the control room, and then all these carts were sitting there in these slots, and you had a clock on the wall. So you have to follow this clock, and that clock would say, okay, I got to play this commercial. You'd pull this card out, and the cart, it had like 3 or 4 decks in it, and you could trigger 3 or 4 of them remotely from the mixer. And that's how you played commercials back then in between the records. And it was all, you queued up the records, you had to queue up each record and make sure it was right at the beginning of the song, and then you would seg into your carts and all that stuff. Back then, doing radio was like flying an airplane. It was a thing.
Yeah, it was like an assembly line.
Yeah, yeah. And I remember making
I mean, how many
commercials
times
and
did you
stuff.
screw up?
Huh? I got
How many times did you screw up?
well, that's the whole part of it. And I was young too, so and I would do some late night stuff, just playing around, but I didn't do any DJing for the most part. I didn't open the mic. I was a little kid. But I'd run the carts and queue up stuff a little bit. But
Damn, that's interesting.
and
Like like learning the behind the scenes kind of stuff of what radio used to be.
oh yeah. And see, I was always an electronic tinker, so my job was to fix the cart machines. So the cart machines would wear out, the heads would get out of alignment, all kinds of stuff. The belts would need to be replaced. So I would take these things apart and rebuild the cart machines. And I was young, and I loved it. There was nothing better than fixing a cart machine in a radio station when I was a kid. And back then, the Associated Press, now it comes in through, it's all on the internet. So all your news on the AP, the Associated Press, comes in through, you get the feeds from the satellites. Well, back then,
Right.
we had this huge printer. It had a special room, and that printer was running 24/7. It was a dot matrix printer, and you know what they sound like. The old, you remember those printers back on the old movies? They had that sound. This thing was
Yeah, I
running.
think so.
Yeah, and this thing had its own sound box over. It's so loud that we had to have an insulator box so you couldn't hear it in this radio station. Yeah, and it had a special room, and you go in there and you rip this paper off, and that's why they call it ripping and reading in the radio world or in the news, because you go and you rip it and you read it live. You don't have time to pre-read it. So that's where the whole term rip and read comes from. You're ripping the paper off the dot matrix
It
printer.
was like your teleprompter.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, there was no computers back then. Everything was done hands on. And then people would call in on the telephone. And a telephone is a thing, it's like you grab it, you put it up to your ear, and you dial. I'm talking
Yeah,
to the.
yeah, yeah. And you had the rotary ones too.
Yeah, I still got it. Still got one of those.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's interesting that I was Amish, and the first phone that we had was past the rotary phone stage, but I still know what a rotary phone is, and I know how to operate one.
Yep. There's
Man,
there's
good old
some
days.
there's some YouTube videos of these young kids sitting in front of a phone, and the father will say, "Okay, I'll give you 5 minutes to figure out how to dial this number," and they write a number down, and they couldn't figure out how to operate a
Yeah,
rotary phone. What
I
they would
seen
do is
that.
they like touched it, and then they would like move the thing. They'd touch the number, and then they'd finally pick it up and go, "Ugh," it's like a gorilla or something. And they're like, "Oh, you pick it up." Yeah, okay. Whoa. Yeah.
Yeah. I'd actually like to have me a good old rotary phone to use. It's like the bad thing is you get about three-quarters of the way through and you mess up, you got to start over.
Yep. Yep. And if they're old and they're not lubed up, they hang up and you got to force them back.
Yep. Yep. Yeah. My mother-in-law bought a house recently, and they had one of those in the basement, still hanging up on the wall.
Oh, you're talking about the wood wall hangers. Yeah. That's an old one. The one with the separate earpiece.
No, no, no. It was they had it hanging on the wall, but it was like
Oh, the
I guess
rectangle ones. Gotcha. Yeah.
they just hung it on the wall to use
Right.
there.
Yeah, Darth Trader. Yeah. You said I didn't know there was other than country music until I was about 13 or 14. Yeah, same with me. But we kind of grew up with we had something called Friday night videos. So on the network TV, instead of MTV, it was called Friday night videos. So I got exposed to all kinds of music through that one channel when I was a kid, and that was the biggest treat on the weekend to watch Friday night videos because you'd watch, you know, Thriller and all that stuff was on. That was the biggest thing to watch Thriller on back then. Yeah, I didn't.
Hey Jay, hey Bruce. He Darth Trader's saying something about I'm not even sure if I can pronounce that. An old mimeograph
Mimeograph
machine.
machine. Yep. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. The mimeograph
I don't
machines.
even
The
know what
smell
that
of
is.
those. There were the mimeograph machines where they had the big drum, and that's how they copied all the tests and stuff. So if the teacher needed to go make copies for a test, she'd go in there, and a lot of them were hand cranked instead of motorized. So you go in there and it was in the smell of the mimeograph every time that was fresh, and they bring it to the your desk, and you smell that. I know you remember smell. How old are you?
I'm 33.
Oh, okay. So there's a difference. Yeah. So yeah, I'll be 52 in a couple of days almost. So yeah, we used to have the. I remember them cranking on those machines, and he's Darth. He's going yes, Fry. I remember the smell to this day of those papers. Yeah, and the sound that those things would make when they're doing that. Cha-chunk, cha-chunk, cha-chunk. Yeah, there's certain things you don't forget. Oh yeah, if you spilled
and
the ink, it
they
was
were
bad.
probably they were probably more reliable than what they use nowadays.
Oh yeah. Well, you didn't have to worry about much going wrong. It's not like a laser printer, where the toner head
Right.
gets all messed up or whatever. The
Oh
drum.
man, that's something that I've been thinking about possibly getting into is doing laser printer because they're actually sort of affordable from what I can see.
Well, it's funny you bring that up. Let me go get. We'll do a little bit quick show and tell. You brought up a laser, but I'm doing something a little different, obviously.
Oh wait, he's gonna bring out his Jewish space lasers. Yeah, that the AOC was talking about. What toy did you buy?
Oh, it's pretty simple. I like to keep things simple, but yet get complicated things done. So there's been a peanut butter shortage. Here's where this is where this came from. By the way, I'll tell the story real quick. Peanut butter shortage. We don't have real good peanut butter in our hometown anymore. You can get the Jiffy and all the stuff that's got the sugar and the canola oils and all that junk mixed in there that's not good for you. But you can't get just straight up peanut butter with salt, and it's been that way for 4 or 5 months now. So I started recently making my own pecan butter because I have the pecan orchard out back, and I've got like 400 pounds of pecans that I still need to process, and I got some in the deep freeze. So I made pecan butter, but when my first pecan butter video, I didn't have a spatula. So people were commenting in the video, you need to get a spatula because when I was making it in the food processor, I'm using a metal spoon, and that was triggering people because I was putting metal on the plastic. So I guess they were worried about me getting microplastics in my pecan butter. So I said, okay, I'm not going to go buy a spatula. I'm going to make my own out of bamboo that I grow on the property. And that's what these are. This is the bamboo spoon right here. And I put that, well, right here is
You
the
can grow
bamboo.
bamboo there?
Yeah, yep. This is a bamboo spoon. And it looks like that. It's not something you eat with every day, but it works perfect for a tasting spoon for what I do. So, and I got that little design on there, and that's where I was talking about. That's burned in with the sun. So what I use to burn that in with is a Fresnel lens right here. This is basically a magnifying glass, but it's a thin piece of plastic. They call it Fresnel lenses, and it will burn anything.
No kid.
Yeah, so here's my spatula. This is the straight-ended one. This is what I call my spatula because this works perfect to scoop stuff out of the food processor because it's got the cup in it, that curve like that,
Mm-hmm.
and then it's straight on the edges. And then I just did some designs with the Fresnel lens, the little dots, and it's got the handle and everything. But this, all I did was I took the bamboo and it naturally splits if you let it dry, and those were the natural edges. And then I took and filed this off on the concrete, and I took a potato peeler or what you peel carrots with, and I smoothed that out, and it takes the layers off perfectly. And then I make the designs with the Fresnel lens. But here's what I want to do. So you know how you got the laser printers like you were talking about, that laser things?
Yeah.
Well, I want to rig up a laser printer, but works off of Fresnel lens on the sun. So instead of the uh, the Fresnel lens moving, the platform would move, because if you move the Fresnel
Oh, I
lens,
see what you're talking about. Yeah.
and I want to be able to use the sun as the laser, and you'd be
Yep.
amazed how quick and how fine pinpoint you can make that work. And it would only work on a sunny day, but I want to do something like when it's somebody's birthday on the channel, I could have like, okay, if you want your name engraved on something or whatever, I'll do it on the day of your birthday with the sun of that day here, and then I'll ship it to you. So it'll be like a novelty thing. So it's done with the sun that
Right.
day from here, and it would be done with this, CNC machine, kind of thing.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. Computerized control that
Right,
uses sun to
right,
get the job done.
right.
That's rather interesting. Now tell us, how many ants have you tortured with that?
Now, when I was a kid, probably a lot. Now, I haven't tortured any ants. I hope I'm not disappointing anybody.
Man, talk about all kinds of memories.
Yep.
Yeah, when me growing up Amish, we didn't use, yeah, like, even if I was old enough to where we would have used the mimeograph, it was an Amish school. We didn't do that kind of stuff. Um, most of the times, if we had tests, I believe they came out of the book, or they would go to the library and get a bunch of stuff printed off or something like that. Um, one room schoolhouse is where I went to school at.
Yeah, and see, I'm lucky enough to grow up in an age where there was no cell phones, and I grew up out in the country, and we didn't have enough phone lines, so we had something called a party line. So when we got a phone, it was called a party line because you shared it with your neighbors, three other neighbors,
Yep,
or two other neighbors. So our ring, so how that worked is we all shared the same phone, so we could all pick up our phones at the same time and say, "Hey, how's it going?" and talk to each other. But you're not
yep,
supposed to do that. But how it worked is everybody had a distinct ring, so you knew what your ring was. So it was like two longs and a short, or two shorts and a long, or a long and two shorts. And that's how, if it went ring, 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 that was you. And then if it was the neighbors,
yep.
it'd be like ring, 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 the two shorts and a long, whatever. I can't remember what ours was. But when I was a kid, of course, I found out a way to where you can unscrew the microphone and you could listen into the phone calls, and that was our reality TV back then when we were kids. Is you'd unscrew the microphone, because what you would do is, I had it mastered. Is what you do is, whenever you knew that somebody had answered their other phone, it wasn't for you, you would hold the thing down so it wouldn't pick up the receiver, and then you would unscrew the microphone. And as long as you unscrewed the microphone and took it out before you slowly lifted the receiver, they could never hear you, because then all you had is an audible. They could never hear you because you could never talk back. And I did that stuff all the time as a kid. And that
So you
was
don't hear the heavy breathing on the other end.
oh man, I tell you what, I learned a lot about the drama in the countryside, and who was, flirting with who, or what drama was going on, or people's marriage problems within the neighbors, because between three, not
You should have
not
been a freaking news reporter, damn it.
not joking, because between three different neighbors, people gossip, and and it's just all kinds of stuff. They had no idea that I was listening.
That was mean.
But
I
that
know
was
what
basic.
we used to do is,
That was my first entry into hacking, I guess, as a child, is hacking phone calls. And then I grew up with CBs, so that was a big thing. I had my own base
yeah.
station. I still have the CB and everything, and the amplifiers, the linears. I've got a President Washington, a D104 Lollipop mic. I got a handheld power mic as well. I have two linears, 400 watts on upper and lower sideband, 200 watts on the AM band, and I had a Star Duster antenna, and I tuned it all myself. It did everything, and I was shooting skip, talking to Canada, Hawaii. I was doing line of sight 50 miles with that thing. 50 miles line of sight. I was talking into Austin, and I was talking to truckers on 35 from my hometown that's
Yep.
20 miles away, easy. And I was shooting over Austin in the hill country. And I had it all, and it wasn't a beam system. It was an omnidirectional Star Duster. And I had that sucker tuned flat. My SWRs were flat. So that sucker would, and at nighttime, whenever the skip would roll in, that was the funnest thing. And I had all these cards where, back then, when you started DXing and you communicate with somebody in the CB world, you would give your call sign and you would send them your card and they would send you theirs. So you'd swap call sign cards and then you'd hang that up on your wall. And that's how it was kind of like your bragging rights. This is who I got to touch base with. Even if it was a short conversation, if it was long enough for you to get your call signs out and y'all could swap out call signs, they'd mail you theirs and you'd mail them back. And that's the way it was done back then. There was no internet, so CB was like
Yeah.
the thing,
There was a communication for of the day.
Yeah.
I know up in the one time I went up to Alaska, up the scale there, um, DOT was telling me that he had a guy skipping all the ways from Maryland up to there with his.
Yep. And my dad had a system that was even more powerful than mine, and he had a beam system, and it was 85 feet tall. And this is when I was younger, and he would talk into people's toasters. It was that powerful. He was talking over people's TVs. Yes,
Holy cow!
I know he was doing the TVs. I know he was doing the TVs. I think I might have the toasters mixed up with our radio station. But I know when he
That
would
might
key
be
up,
where people got the. That might be where the people got that idea of. Was it the Superman movie where the aliens came down and hacked all their TVs and they talked through the TV, everybody's TV. That's probably where they got that idea. As
right,
somebody's
and
TV started
this
glitching,
wasn't, yeah, this wasn't audible, but when he would key up, it would cause them their distortion and snow and static on their TV because back then
yeah,
television was analog band, so it was messing up their signal. It's not like they could hear him audibly, but it was messing up their. So the neighbors would call and say, "Stop, turn down your CB." Yep, the good old days,
I remember
the base station.
a guy telling me he did that in his truck. He had all kinds of boosters on his, and whenever he keyed up, his dome lights would dim,
Oh yeah, he's pulling too much
pushing
current.
too much power,
Yeah, he needed a better battery bank for that, or maybe a super capacitor would
or
have helped
just
a little bit
or
initially.
or just a smaller setup in his truck, maybe.
Yeah. Well, the best setup for a vehicle, if you can do it, is a 102-inch whip in the middle of the truck if possible, and keep the antenna at least a couple of feet away from your cab if you can. And your SWRs will pretty much be matched to flat right out of the gate if you got good coax. And put you a little linear on there because you don't want to run it barefoot. And you'll have good reception, you'll have good ears, and you'll get out good. 102-inch whip. But the problem is
Yeah,
when you go through a drive-through or something, they're always hitting the lights and stuff.
yep, yeah. I don't even have whips that are that big, and I freaking go through town. I'm hitting branches. Oh, I do want to get a bigger. I've in the 12 years I've been trucking, I've been thinking I'm going to get me a better setup for my CB, and I still haven't done it.
Well, it's all about
I
your
just
antenna and the coax for the most part, and the radio is secondary. And then the microphone is important, antenna is important, radio is not so much because they're all going to basically put out anywhere from 7 to 12 watts from the factory. So it's all
yeah,
about.
you can basically take a regular Cobra 29 and do enough to it to where it's as good as a Striker or a Connex or something like that.
Yeah, you can push them up to about 50 watts. Some of them if you have somebody really do it upright. But then you got to have
Like I'm pretty sure the one I have now needs to be tuned because it just they don't get out much. My like right now, I'm not getting anything in, and my SWRs are like three-quarters up.
Oh, not good. You want to keep your SWRs, of course you know this, as flat as, close to 1 or nothing as possible. So when you're
Right.
doing your SWR test, you don't want that meter to move much whenever you're keying your mic up.
Yeah.
Does yours have a on the fly SWR test, or you have to do the little tuning knob when key it up and then hit the? Is yours a digital
I'm not
display?
sure. No, it's got the needle. It's the Galaxy DX 959. It's got the needle on it.
Let me check that out.
I mean, when I key up, it drops, but or does it go up? I can't see because the light inside it went out. No, it goes up. I haven't done anything to it for a while. Yeah, Darth. I just refreshed Rumble and there's nothing there. Like it's been froze for a while. I don't know what's going on with Rumble.
So you got the
There it
Galaxy
goes.
DX 959B.
No, just 959.
Okay.
DX 959. I bought it off a buddy of mine and I took it into a CB shop, and he broke it open and he just started shaking his head. He's like, whoever the hell did something on this just did not. I mean, there was wires everywhere. There was this piece there, this piece there, and he did a little bit of work to it. It was a little bit better, and then went to another place and he did even more to it. Actually, he turned the power up enough to where if I'm having a conversation, I got to keep it sort of short between comments because it got so hot that it freaking burnt my fuse.
So
So I had to.
if it's burning up your fuse, just put a bigger fuse in there.
I didn't want to do that because I didn't want to melt the wires.
Right? So so you must be
I,
pushing some power out with that thing if it's doing that.
it just it. I don't know. I need to probably get a new coax or something because
All right, so it's got a
I don't
talkback,
know.
it's got a clarifier, it's got obviously mic gain, RF gain, dimmer, uh, RF power, and it should have an SWR switch on there somewhere. Yeah, it does have. Yeah, so you have to put it in SWR mode to test the SWRs, and then you probably use the clarifier to adjust the SWRs, and then once you get it set,
Oh, yeah, there it is.
and then you key it up, and then you'll see where your SWRs are. You can probably find a YouTube video about it if that's confusing you. But yeah, here's
Yeah,
a
if I put it on SWR and I key up, it goes to zero. But for some reason, my needle stays stuck up. See, I think honestly, in this area, from here to the East Coast, there's somebody that has a base station. I keep having to turn my squelch way down because somebody has a base station somewhere. And from anywhere from here to the East Coast, this guy is nonstop talking
yeah,
about the highways and the byways and blah blah, to the point where I just squelch it out because you can't put up with somebody repeating that kind of crap over and over and over to the point where he just drives you nuts.
yeah.
So I just freaking squelch it out, and that might be why the needle's up because it's still picking them up, but I'm not hearing it.
Well, do you have a bottom loaded or a top loaded or mid loaded antenna? What's your antenna? Do you know what the name of it is?
I have no idea. It's just a whip, just a little wire, like a $16 freaking antenna is what I
Oh,
bought.
all right. So
It's
here,
mounted onto my it's mounted onto my mirror.
I'm going to preach this. If anybody's listening and you care about CBs, I'll keep it simple. It's all about antenna first and antenna placement second. Then it's your microphone gain, which is modulation going into your radio, and then it's your power. And see, everybody gets it backwards. Everybody goes for the power first, and then maybe the antenna, but not the placement. And then they forget about microphone
Right.
gain. So again, it's antenna, which 102-inch whip is the best, but you can't put them on a truck because they're too tall. But if you got a pickup truck, you can put one on there and get away with it. But you can get other antennas that are almost just as good as a 102-inch whip. But for the best reception and transmission is a 102-inch whip. Hands down, you can't beat it. But you got to tune them. So sometimes you got to tune them with a spring. Sometimes you add a spring in there and it gives you a flat SWR. Sometimes you got to take the spring out. Sometimes you tune it with coax. The length of your coax will get you the low SWRs. So once you get your antenna up there and it's placed correctly, then you tune your radio modulation. And then that's whenever you start sounding loud. And once you get that done, then you can put your linear on there and you know you're good. Now you're going to have to readjust some things when you're pushing more power. So you might have to tweak some things here because when you put a linear on there, you're adding a length of coax between your radio and your linear. So sometimes that screws up shit. But it's antenna first, the type of antenna placement, and then your microphone gets you the loud sound because you can have all the watts you want to in the world, but have a really quiet voice. So that's why you want a
Yep.
power mic. So you want a good power mic, and that's going to make you sound loud, and it's going to make you sound louder over all the other people. So, and a lot of these radios have that stuff built in where yours has RF. You have mic gain on yours. That helps.
Yeah, I got mic gain on mine. Yeah.
And
one thing that I know that when I bought the antennas, the guy that was tuning my radio, he actually clipped part of it off because he hooked it up to his, I'm guessing was his SWR meter,
oh,
and it
I got
was
something going low here.
pinging.
Hold on. I got a generator beep. I got a inverter beeping.
Yeah, looks like Rumble's back up. Yeah, I'm gonna have to end this live so I can go get some sleep, so I can get home at a decent time. Man, I don't know. I might have to run my truck tonight. I don't know what's wrong with my heater, man. It freaking blowing on high for longest time, and then it's pretty much shut off, and then it's blowing on high again. Melt me out of here. I don't know what the heck's going on with it. I'll have to ask him, Diana, when he comes back. Good God, it's getting hot in here. Yeah, I'll take my radio to Fry and let him fix it up. But I'll have to actually, if I keep trucking, I'll have to get a new coax put in here, find a different spot for my antenna. Because this truck actually, from the factory, was set up with a uh, split coax where one goes to the right, one goes to the left, and you mount it to your mirrors. But I need to change that. But I've had mine. I don't know how long I've had it. 6, 8 years, something like that. Probably more like 8 years. And I didn't buy it new. I bought it off a friend of mine.
All right. The problem is I got four AGMs on one side of my solar bank, and then I have one battery for the back part of the studio, and that battery is weak, and it was kicking my inverter off because it was going down to 10 volts, and then the UPS would kick on and take up the slack, and then it would come. It was going back and forth, and it would go chirp. The UPS would kick on. So I had to put a battery charger on it to supplement it. That's getting the power from the generator to keep that battery up float enough to where that kind of crap stopped. So yeah, it's just you think you prep for everything, but I need one more battery charger for this scenario because what I'm doing
Yep.
is I'm actually
Um,
charging a battery and then the inverter's running the stuff, which I know I'm losing efficiency, but I don't have to worry about flipping my plugs back and forth from one power source to the other, or I'm going to have to put a transfer switch in. So I got two transfer switch systems in my house that I can automatically switch from grid to solar power. But right now I don't have a transfer switch system set up for generator to grid. So, I never thought we'd be without power for a week or two in Texas in this part. You
yeah,
know what
it's
I'm
never
saying?
that bad.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I'm
Um,
refining my preps. I'm like, okay, I need to do this now. I need to do that. So anyway,
I
somebody had a
got
question.
couple questions. Yeah, a couple questions that popped up. One of them on Rumble, Diana GH asked what the best CB is to get.
Um, if you just want a mobile CB, you can get Galaxies are good CBs, Cobras, anything like that. I would stay away from the really small anything you get at Walmart. I would not really mess with. If it has, here's the thing: if it has a mic gain and it has a RF gain and it has RF power, it has a clarifier. That's what you need to look for. And I would always get a CB with an SWR meter built in. So if it doesn't have an SWR meter built in, I wouldn't get it because that's the thing, that's the foundation of a radio is you got to tune your SWRs. If you don't tune your antenna, don't even put a CB in your truck because it's pointless. If you got high SWRs, you're not going to get out, you're not going to have good ears because when you're not getting out good and you got reflected frequency coming back, your SWRs, it's the same way with the frequencies coming in. So if your antenna is out of tune when you're transmitting with high SWRs, you're going to be out of tune for that frequency as well. So you're not going to have good ears. So if you're not getting out, you're not going to have good ears. Either way, it's the same way.
Yep.
So it's all about antenna. The longer the antenna, the better in any case. So the longer antenna you can buy, the better it's going to be. Because I think a 102-inch whip is what, a quarter wave on the AM band? Or is it a 5/8? I can't remember. I have dyslexia, so I get all the numbers mixed up. But anyway, a 102-inch whip is the best CB antenna. And any radio that has SWR meter built in and those things that I was talking about, the mic gain. But I would stick with, the Cobras of the world.
Cobras are pretty cheap. They're like $130, or they were like $130.
Yeah, you don't need to get a Galaxy. If you're not going to, if you're not a trucker and you're not on it all the time, you don't need that. If you just want to shoot skip or just scan the dial and listen to the drunks and the crazy people talking on the AM band. But I don't know. Do you want to be on upper and lower sideband? So that's where I like to hang out when I was in the CB world when I was a kid. Is I loved to play with the clarifier and the upper lower sideband because that's where you could really get past all the nonsense on the radio where everybody's just yakking and using their echo boxes and all their chimes and all that crap. So you could get into where you can actually have a conversation with somebody. And don't get me wrong, I had all the bells and whistles. I had the echoes and the chimes and I even had a descrambler. So my uncle, we both bought the set. So you could buy a scrambler set and you put the scrambler set on your base station and he put the scrambler set on his base station and nobody else could hear us but us. So we could have a private conversation on the CB radio with these scramblers. And what you do is you tune in to the other person and you had to buy them in a set. Have you ever heard of that?
No, I have not.
Yeah, I got it.
That's
I could show it to you. It's a box about this big and it came with echo. It came with modulation increase. It came with the pre-chimes and it would play even music. So you could hold the key down and it would play jingles. And it had the scrambler in there too.
So like you have to be on the same frequency, basically.
Well, you have to be
Correct
on the same
frequency
channel.
almost.
Yeah, you have to be on the same channel, but what it does is it scrambles your voice and then you descramble it, just like the old cable boxes kind of concept. So, you just stay on the same thing and then he'll descramble you and then you descramble him and then you can hear each other.
Okay.
Because to the other people on the CB radio, it sounds like that's all you would hear.
Right.
And it was really annoying to everybody else because
Yeah.
they could,
Yeah. It would be.
yeah, yeah, those were not real
Darth
popular.
wants to know. Darth wants to know: is it true you can be sitting beside someone at a red light and blow their amps up when they are blasting rap music with a powerful CB?
No, a car audio amp, no, no. The average linear is in a trucker is probably 250 to 400 watts, just based on the fact that you can't give it enough power without upgrading your power lines, and a lot of people are not going to run a welding cable to their linear. You know what I'm saying? So you only got so much power you can feed those linears. Um, I got a 250 watt in there that's only that big, but those generally have 30 amp fuses in them because they pull so much current. And that's the thing. If you got high SWRs too, and you hook a linear up to it, you're going to blow the finals in that linear. So you're going to be replacing those a lot. So if you're blowing your
Yep.
finals, that means your antenna's not tuned right, or you got some coax issues where it's got a short in it. You always got to check and tune your antenna. That's the thing. Same way with radio stations. You got to tune the antenna. I spent the majority of the time tuning the ATO box when I had the AM station because basically you can't extend the length of an antenna on the AM radio station. It's a set length. So how you make it theoretically shorter and longer? There was a box at the bottom of the tower, and you had these little taps, and I have them right there. I could show you what it looks like, but you tap into it, and it theoretically makes the antenna longer or shorter, and you had these little clips and you tap into this coil and you would add capacitor and banks in there for capacitance and all that kind of stuff, and then you would get your SWRs as flat as possible. An radio tower is exactly like a CB radio for tuning because the whole tower radiates in an AM station just like a CB radio. The whole antenna radiates the signal. On an FM station, you don't have that. You have just you can have any pipe up there, and then it goes up on a coax, and they have the bays. So on an FM station, it's like a TV station. They transmit with what they call bays. So you run the antennas up the coax, up the pole. So you could grab a FM antenna and you won't get shocked because the bays are the ones that have the RF coming out of them. But an AM antenna is live. So if you go up to an AM antenna and you touch it, you're going to get shocked. I used to take neon light bulbs and you get close to the tower and you light it up. And I got video and photos of this. You light it up and you got a wand. You got a light lighting up in your hand. There's that much energy around the antenna, but you have to get
Holy
it.
cow.
Yeah, and your hand gets warm. So you hold it against there and you got the thing lit up. So you got a neon fluorescent bulb lit up in your hand. And it was really fun to play with, but it gets warm. Another thing you can do is you can sit there right at the base of the tower and stand up with both feet on the ground, by the way. You don't want to do one. You take a crescent wrench or any kind of wrench and you tap it against the tower and you pull an arc back. And you could pull an arc back about an inch or two. And you could hear the music playing inside that arc. So imagine, you know how welding sounds like, that sound of welding
Yeah.
is basically 60 hertz or whatever. Well, you could hear the music in the arc because you're no longer doing 60 hertz. It's the frequency of the oscillation of the voice. So you could hear the music playing
No
in that
kidding.
arc. Yeah, and your feet would get hot, and because it's shorting out on your shoes at that point because
So
it's
it's
looking
another.
for yeah.
So
And I used
that's
to
another form of hacking.
yeah yeah. So I used to do that stuff when I was a kid, and I did it.
You little hacker.
I did it probably in 2010 was probably the last time I did that at the radio station. But yeah, there's so much fun stuff you can do with radios.
Man,
But
that's a lot of intel that I've never got into.
well, I grew up in
I've
in
always
that
just took it
world.
somewhere and had them do it for me.
Yeah, but the key, if anybody wants to play with radios, just focus on the antenna first and not so much the radio and just get a decent radio with upper and lower sideband if you want to do the CB world, and you'll be happy. But you got to tune the antenna, and then once you get that right, and you feel like you want to get out further and walk on people, just get you a little 250-watt linear put in there, but it's got to be hooked up right. You got to supply the linear with the correct power. Don't just run a little chicken shit 16 gauge wire to a 400-watt amp. You need a good 10 gauge, or double up some 10 gauge wires, and a grounding is the key. Make sure that thing is grounded perfect. Don't just ground it to a screw on your dash somewhere. Ground it to a nice bolt. Make sure that bolt's all nice and shiny and scratch off all the paint. Grounds are the key. But yeah,
Good deal. I'm gonna, huh?
I'm gonna shut up. I just want to say this. I remember now. I grew up on the farm, and one of my jobs was to tune all the CB radios in the combines, grain trucks, and the tractors and the pickups. So, and what was cool is everybody else was having to service the combines. They're doing wheel bearings and greasing them and stuff, and I would get out of that by doing the CB radio tuning. So I didn't have to do a lot of the dirty work. So I got to tune the CBs, which was fun, and I also fixed the radios because the radios were always, the speakers were going bad or need to replace because they would mess up. So I got to do the radios, tune the CBs, and I was the go-to guy for the whole countryside for tuning the CBs. So take it to Mike, or Mike will go tune your stuff. And I would carry around my SWR meter. For because back then there was no SWR meters built into CB radios for the most part. So you had to undo the coax and do it that way with the little tuner box. And I also had an RF box that you could walk around and see the pattern of your antenna. And when you key up the mic, it would show where the nulls and the peaks were of your antenna. And it had a little RF meter with a little antenna on the top. I was a nerd back when I was a kid. I'm still a nerd. What am I talking about? I've always been a nerd, man.
Hey, nerds is what makes this world go round and round. I think, especially with the tech we have nowadays,
Yeah,
everything electronic that we have, uh, takes nerds to make it go.
yeah. That's just where my brain works. I actually have dyslexia, and I had a brain injury on a four-wheeler when I was a kid, and I lost time. I was on a 110 three-wheeler, and I hit a 202 tracks head on. We were playing chicken, and his eyeball
Oh
popped
God.
out. Yeah, when he hit me in the back of the head, and he hit in the front. So hit the front of his head, hit the back of my head, and his eyeball popped out. He had to go to the emergency room, get that fixed, and it popped out of the socket. It's not like it was dangling, but it popped it out to where you couldn't push it back in. They claimed that I went to the emergency room, but I don't remember that. So I do remember coming to, and the vibration and the I felt like I was going to throw up, like I was just needed to puke, and I would see five of everything, and that lasted, and then I don't remember anything after that. So that lasted for long enough to the point to where I lost about a day or two, or maybe a couple of weeks, or maybe most of my childhood. I don't remember a lot of that stuff now, but they swear that I went to the emergency room, and I don't remember any of that. But I was out for a pretty good bit, and
So what you're saying is you could have been a girl at some point. You wouldn't know.
yeah, no, I'm not trans. No, do you want to know my pronouns? Yeah, here's what I identify as. I identify as a conspiracy theorist, and my pronouns are told you so.
I like that. I've always said I identify as a black woman.
Yeah, but yeah. So anyway,
Anyway, I do have to get to bed. I got to get up about 4 o'clock to.
yeah, I can talk your ear off when it comes to tech. But yeah,
We got to do this again. Glad it worked out. I know
yeah, and
Agnes been wanted to talk to you as well, so we'll
I've
have
been
to
going
get
a
her
thousand
on one
miles
day.
all day just to get onto this panel to get everything done. Because there's no power. I have to do everything like, you know, to rig up my water heater just to have warm enough water to wash dishes. People take all this stuff for granted, but you can't wash
Yep.
dishes in cold water. You're not going to get butter and
Yep.
grease off with cold water. I'm sorry. So yeah, I just got the water heater working today. So and I got a temperature gauge
Well,
on
that's
it so
good.
I can see the temperature. It's going to take about 8 hours to get up to 150 degrees, but that's fine. There's 24 hours in a day, and I'm running the generator all
Yep.
day long. So I'll just unplug it before I go to bed, plug it back in when I get up in the morning. Because I got it literally hooked up to where it plugs into the generator. On a cord.
Well, main thing is at least you're able to stay warm.
Yep, wood
Um,
stove. I put that in
that's
2009. Yep, by myself. That was a fun project. And everybody thought I was crazy. What are you putting a wood stove in Texas? Why'd you take your central heat and air out? I took the central heat and air out, and I got window units, and I can run the window units on solar because they're dual inverter units. They don't have the AC motors; they have the DC motors, so they don't have that startup surge that kills inverters. It's a slow ramp up. It's a DC motor for the compressor and a DC motor for the fan. It's the only way to go with window
there you
units.
go.
Look for dual inverter window units, and LG makes the best ones. And that's what I have. I have
There you
four of
go.
them. Yeah.
Y'all need
All
to
right.
get
Well,
with Fry TV on all your tech and all your prepping work because
yeah,
it
I've been
does
a
pay
prepper
off.
for a long time. I just don't like to advertise it too much because people sometimes know where you live.
Yeah, yeah, that's the bad part. If you I don't consider myself a prepper. I consider myself as somebody that puts away my own food. But when you do that, you got to be prepared to defend it too.
Oh, I got all yeah, I got the side dishes and everything that goes along with protecting my food. Trust me. And it kind of tastes like lead, if you know what I'm saying.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
Yep.
yeah. Anyway, it's good to have you on. I'm going to end this live. We'll try to get you on again sometime. This was interesting.
Yep. The timing
Um,
worked out for me. I'm usually pretty busy, but I'll do my best to jump on again when I can.
yeah, we'll try to make it like a Friday night thing again because during the week I just never really know. Because I don't schedule my own stuff anymore. So
I work nights at the radio station, and my Friday nights are off, and my Saturday nights are off. So Friday night and Saturday night are my off
all
nights.
right,
So
keep
that
that in
works for
mind.
me. Yeah.
All right, we'll catch you next time. Be safe, Fry.
Later. Y'all have a good one. This was fun.
Thanks for tuning in, guys. Y'all have yourself a wonderful night.